Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the San Francisco studio. I am here with Mickt. My name is Emily, and today we're going to be working on this stream on typographic posters celebrating women as we close out Women's History Month and Small Business Month. So, Mickt, do you want to walk us through what you're going to be working on?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Mickt. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an illustrator and designer based here in the US. And today we're going to be working on a two-part series. So the first part is right now, and the second part is going to be at noon. So, right? It's at
yes, at noon.
Okay, so we're back at noon, so stay tuned to see the finished portion of what we're going to start today.
Yes, I'm so excited for this. When we were chatting about content ideas for the day, you told me that you're like, I want to walk someone through the process of having like a creative brief of how,
you remember, that's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, walking someone through like when you get a creative brief, okay, where do we go from there? And you are such a talented designer and illustrator. I said, we need to know more about this. So I'm really excited for you to show us your tips and tricks and how you go about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about a content that would be interesting for people that are just thinking about starting a design career, people that are in design but want to become freelancers, or people that work in the agency setting, because in all those situations you're gonna have to get familiar with working from a design brief. And you were a freelancer too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So you have familiarity with this
process. Yeah, but I'm excited to see someone else do it as well, right? Because everyone has a different way about going about it, and so
yeah, that's true. And I can share the things that have worked for me so that I have a little bit more organization in my process.
Yes, super important to be organized.
Makes sense. Yeah, okay. So we can start with our Women's Month marketing campaign two-part series. So here I have my Illustrator open, and on the corner here you can see I have a little artboard with the mock briefing, the design brief that we're going to be using today. And I'm going to read it with you so that we can go over some parts of the design brief and what we do with that.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And chat, if you are just joining us, we're super excited that you're here. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And then also, if you have any questions about the design brief or the process as we're going through, feel free to drop them in the chat and then we will address them as we go.
Yes, absolutely. I don't want to forget the chat. They were
really
you, awesome last time. Yes.
Okay, let's get into it.
Okay. So usually when you're working with a design brief or with a client, even if you're an agency, what happens is you're going to receive a written document from your client or your prospective client. And it usually kind of looks like something like this, but in a PDF format or or Microsoft Word. So anything that's written. And it's going to have some details about what the project is or what they want it to be. So let's go over what we have here in our mock design brief. We have the title, which is Women's Month Marketing Campaign, a typographic poster series. So we already know they want us to make posters.
Perfect.
And our client is a home decor brand. So I put a dream client here, something that's really fun.
Home decor, she's ready for you.
I am. This is a hint. Okay. We also have some details. So this is where the client kind of writes freely what they want you to do. It might be really long or it might be really short. So here they wrote, for Women's Month marketing campaign, we'd like you to create a series of 3 original posters that merge type and illustration to promote women's empowerment through design.
Amazing.
And our posters need to look visually coherent as part of the same system. So this is an important part. I understand what they ask, and then below we have keywords, which are modern, simple, elegant, fun, and feminine. Keywords are really important, especially if the client doesn't have reference images to show you.
True.
I think keywords kind of help you set the vibe or kind of understand what the client is thinking in that moment. So they're envisioning something that looks modern, simple, elegant, but also fun, so maybe not too serious, and feminine. The style, flat and modern, I understand that. And then they also list a use case. So what is this thing going to be for, you know?
That's a really important question to ask, right?
Yeah.
Is it print? Is it digital? How big is this going to show up somewhere? Because
like, what is it for?
Right, because I need to be able to prepare my file correctly. Yeah, which is a big issue.
And here they're saying the posters will be shared on social media.
Okay.
There will also be street posters, and they would also be available for sale on their website and stores as framed prints for interior decor as a limited series. This makes a lot of sense for a home decor brand. So this is something that's going to be using kind of like marketing, but also something that you can gift someone else.
Right.
So it needs to be beautiful, and it's gonna be in different sizes. And here they are giving me content, so they have some quotes for us to use in the posters. Lift her up, women are magic, and the future is female.
So fun.
Yeah, so sometimes they don't share the whole content with you.
This is a great brief, is what we're hearing. This is
is a great brief. This is a great basic brief, right? It's
Yeah.
like a starting point for you to understand the parts of a design brief. And if they don't share, like, don't be afraid to ask for more. Don't be afraid to ask questions, or if they're not, communicating in written form, don't be afraid to ask for a meeting or something like that where you can talk. And sometimes that's gonna be much more efficient. They also listed deliverables, which are gonna be 3 vertically oriented posters and Adobe Illustrator files. So deliverables are really important. So basically what you need me to make. So like they're gonna use it as different things, but they need me to make
just those 3 things.
Just those 3 things, yeah. So this is where like what you're responsible for, and it also helps set expectations for what's gonna be done at the end of the project. They list the size, so a minimum of 24 by 36 inches, which is, I guess it's like the standard size for concert posters.
Yeah, I was gonna say 11 by 17 is like in-house, 24 by 36 is like, oh, we're sending this out of house, most likely.
Yeah, so this is like, so you have an idea. So pretty cool, pretty big.
Yeah.
And the output, it's gonna be digital and printed. We already know that. Color mode RGB. So even though this is gonna be
print,
we're working with RGB because nowadays, the technology is so much more improved that we don't need to work in CMYK necessarily unless the client
requests.
Yeah. So even when I'm making like really huge wall murals, I create my work completely in RGB, and then since they have the open file, whoever's printing it, which is usually, a specialized company, they know what to do with that.
Right.
So you don't need to worry so much. Deadline one day. Yeah, we got finished today.
That's crazy.
And please use the brand colors. Here we have 4 colors that are their brand colors.
Love
and
that.
Colors are really important for a design brief, I think. Many times they don't list colors, so I always ask. Because if it were up to me, I would use always the same colors.
Which sometimes the client may be like, whatever you think.
Yeah, it's a blue.
I know, I never know which way it is.
So I put up here really cool colors that are really contrasting. And let's say they didn't send us the black. You can always assume there's going to be a shade of black or a shade of white. Yeah. So there's no white here. But you know what? Let's put a white here.
The page itself, it counts.
Yeah, let's make, I like warm off-white tones, like eggshell whites.
Nice.
You can always ask them about that too. So if the brand is really like, the color palette sometimes can be really restrictive, and they like, we can't use black, we can only use, dark blue because it's something that was already established by their brand guide. So I always talk about colors as well with the client.
That's super helpful.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we have our brief now, and if you're just joining in, Mickt is working on creating a typographic poster that's celebrating Women's History Month, and so we are looking at the process from start to finish, and this is the pretend but very detailed, wonderful client brief that we're going to be working on for the rest of this stream, and then we're going to do a part 2 of this stream starting at 12 p.m. So stick around if you want to see where this ends up. Jeffrey in chat is saying, I asked, where are you streaming from? And they said, where I'm at, I'm excited. So wherever that is, that's where he is.
I think that's what's important.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do now that I have my brief, and I have my design brief in Illustrator, I was going to say why I do that. It's just so I can quickly look at the information while I'm designing.
Right.
So I don't need to like switch between different windows, especially if I just have my laptop, which is the case most of the time. Yeah. So it's really cool. Just take the key points and, paste the text in Adobe Illustrator. And I always put my artboard on the top left corner.
That's unique. I'm always right in the middle. Like, I want to have as much working space around.
It gives you something right here, right? So I usually you can just delete that or move it here, because as you're going to create more artboards,
yeah,
sometimes you're going to ideally you're going to create several versions.
Right.
And you're going to have like your process, you know, black and white, sketch, color. So it's really good to have it organized already. So when you share it on your portfolio, sometimes you go back to a project like many months after the thing was done, especially if it's like a client that's gonna release something, like you don't have permission to post it just yet. You gotta wait. Yeah. So when you go back to this file, it's already gonna be really organized, and it's really cool that you can just, you know, move things around, relabel the artboards. So this is something I learned recently, because one of the projects that I did last year, I just had so many versions, and I'm like, I don't know
which
one I made. Not the final, but like, what did I make first? How do I tell the story of this design process?
I could see that, yeah, definitely.
Everything was all over the place.
Well, we are starting off very organized then, so this is great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've made your artboard, so now what's your first step?
Now I'm gonna resize it to the size that they gave us.
Which
so
was,
here,
yeah, 24 by 36,
24
right?
by 36, you know, and here everything's in inches, but you can just type 24.
I love this.
You can just make 24 inches.
Yep.
Like you can write it if it's in a different format.
Let me give more clarity on that too. So say, are you in pixels currently? I can't tell.
No, it was already in inches. But if you were in pixels,
right,
you can just type.
The short version.
Yeah.
So, or even vice versa. So we're in inches, but say you wanted like 1080 by 1350 pixels, you can just go in there, and as long as you're writing like PX for pixels or IN for inch, Illustrator is awesome like that, and will convert that for you and keep the measurements accurate.
Yeah.
So
you can write the whole word too.
Yeah, you can. I always do the short version, but I didn't know you could do the full version, so that makes sense.
You can. It's really cool. It feels like smarter than you would expect it to be. And then I'm gonna click here to, you know, constrain the proportions. So if we need to make it bigger or smaller,
oh, that's so smart.
Scale it,
yeah,
it's already there. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna create some guides.
Okay.
So.
And what are guides?
Guides are things that help us not get really disorganized. Guides help us keep our content where it needs to be, so the content's not cut when it's printed, or it's not, you know, too close to the edge, and then kind of gives it a different vibe that you want it to give. And that's a very loose explanation, but I'm gonna tell you how I make my guides here.
I'm excited.
So I'm gonna create a rectangle that's the size of my board.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it just a stroke, and I'm gonna resize it to be like smaller.
So you're holding
like,
Option Shift, right?
Option Shift,
drag that to the center.
Yeah, but you can, you know, change it manually. I think it's pretty cool. I can, you know, align center just to make sure it's centered. If that's important. In this case, it is. And that's it. That's our guide, right?
Okay, so you're eyeballing it is what I'm seeing.
Yes.
Which is awesome, yeah.
I'm eyeballing it because this is just a guide. This guide is not for printing, yeah.
Right.
It's for me to not put things too close to the edge.
You're giving yourself a bounding box almost of like, okay, I'm not working past this, or if I do work, obviously you're gonna work past it, but important information is gonna be within it. It's like a safety zone.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a safety zone. That's a perfect way to describe it. And because we're gonna do 3 posters, we can just, you know, copy
that artboard.
Holding Option Shift, and then
Option Shift drag. I do that at least 100 times in any program or in any project. Excuse me. Get out of it. The fly-out panel's in the way. There you go. Perfect.
Cool. And I'm gonna lock the guide layer now because I don't need it. I just saved it, but remember, if you don't, you can always, you know, save as to the Creative Cloud. This is a really good way to make sure you don't lose your files in the middle of your process, because believe me, it's gonna happen sometimes. You know, your computer is not perfect. It can happen, and so saving it to the cloud, it's
safer. Yeah,
it's a lifesaver. It happened to me yesterday, by the way. I didn't have it saved to the cloud.
Chad, does this ever happen to you? Are you doing okay?
You know, but I'm glad I remembered to do it now. Okay.
So you have your guides, and so I'm interested because it seems like you're not doing dragged out guides, which are like the usually like bright cyan kind of guide that like disappears. So you're doing like a physical guide that's gonna sit on the page for you.
Yeah.
Super cool. Okay.
Yeah, and it's because it's for me.
Right.
Whenever things are gonna be for the printing aspect, you know, you would set up that on Illustrator specifically. You know, the bleeding, and then you select how much you want it. But for this case, I don't need that.
I love that. Yeah, and guides also usually go across all of your artboards too, so if you want something a little more specific to one, this does make a lot of sense.
Yes.
Cool, okay.
Okay, So now we're gonna start putting our content. And here, I'm not worried about what the content looks like in terms of style. It's just the words. Okay. So our quotes are, "Women are magic, the future is female, and lift her up." Let's do.
Where should we start?
Women.
That is the smallest
so
font
tiny.
Illustrator could have chosen.
Yeah, it depends on what I worked on last.
Is
it
that
kinda,
what determines it?
Yeah, I think so. It remembers. So let's see. But I don't know. But it's not important right now. So let's do women. Or
And then I'm going to answer a question from the chat. Someone asks, I see you're using Illustrator to show a brief, but what is the best way to deliver a brief template? I don't know if I have a personal preference. I received it in a couple of different ways. I think the most important thing is that the information's there. So, I mean, I get it like the content in an email or as a PDF or a shared Google Doc.
I think PDF is the most professional way.
I agree.
If you're concerned about looking professional, as you start, PDF is awesome. But I've also seen as, a Google Docs file.
Right, yeah, or just directly in an email or,
Yeah, clients, if the client's sharing with you, many times they're gonna put in an email, but if you make it an organized document, it just gives it a more professional vibe. And if they need to share it with other people in the team,
it's also easier for you to be able to keep it, right, in your file. So if I get a brief, I usually am saving it into the folder where I'm going to be working with the rest of the client artwork or design work. And so that way, if I ever need to reference it, I'm not sorting through my email and trying to find it. It's just already there for me. So if you want to make your designers happy, give them a PDF. That's what they all want.
Yes, absolutely. So here I'm just putting the text in. I think I'm gonna have, what I'm starting to think now as I do this is, I think I'm gonna have a word that I want to put my focus on for all of them.
Smart, like a hierarchy type focus,
yes.
right? Of what's the first glance, what are we taking away? I'm taking away magic or female. I love that.
Because if everything has the same weight, it's a different message you're sending.
That's true.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And here I wanna focus on certain words. Also because I went to modify the font. So let's put the focus here on female, here on magic, and here it's gonna be lift her up. Is that what it was?
Yes, I think so.
So.
Okay, I had a question for you as you're working here. So there were some keywords in your brief, right? It was modern, elegant, etc. Do you ever ask the client a clarifying question of okay, what does elegant mean to you? Or what does feminine mean to you? Because I think words like that have a really broad scope of answers for people. Do you ever ask more clarifying questions on that?
Always. I feel like I ask too many questions. I was like, what is that? I ask too many questions, but of course there's no such thing as too many questions, so I shouldn't even say that. What I mean is I ask a lot of follow-up questions.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even because they didn't provide me with enough information. It's just so I make sure that I understand what they want.
Right, which is so important, right? So say you don't quite understand, then you start working, and you show the client, you're right, you invest hours into this, and you show the client, and they said, oh, you totally missed this one part. And
you're going to have to redo it.
You're going to have to do it. And so I encourage especially young designers or people who are just starting out professionally, if you're unclear, it's way more important that you ask now than later down the road, because for everyone at stake, right, the client has a deadline they're trying to meet, right? Or now you're gonna have to start over. So it's really important that you're clear. And so I think, the more I've worked in my career, the more important it is to ask the questions too, So would encourage you to do that. If you're not already, or you're nervous about asking questions, we're gonna tell you, ask more questions.
And I'm gonna say something too. Ask your questions before you
start.
Before you decide on a price.
Also true.
Because what decides how much you charge as a freelancer in this case is the scope of the project.
Yep.
And many times, the client might want to see a quote before they have all the content.
Right.
And that can really that can make you sad, because then let's say you created a contract and everything and they decide to change things.
You're like, great, let me start over.
Yeah. Well, or, you work, you can't start over, but it should always say, oh, if I need to start over after this point, we're going to have to treat this as a new project.
Right, definitely. And it's important to have boundaries in that too, and
Yes.
recognize. I think early on in my career too, I'd be like, oh well, I didn't understand, and like, yes, there are times for that of like, oh, I was unclear, I didn't ask, so like I'll take the responsibility for that. But sometimes you're like, no, this is what we agreed upon, and it's really important to like guide your client through that process. I did see in your brief even, it looks like you're delivering this and then they're going to resell it, and something like that would go, I think, into the pricing, right? Like if you're just delivering the design to them and they put it on the wall, awesome. But if you're delivering it to them, they're printing it and then they're reselling it, that also changes the scope. So it's really important to be clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Imagine you deliver it and they're like, oh, actually we're selling it. And you said, oh, I had no idea you were selling it. Like we need to change how we're going about this, right?
Because if they're profiting from it, I think I'm not going to go into detail about it because it depends on what the thing is, but that sets the price a little bit higher up.
Right, definitely.
Basically speaking, that's what it does. So I have here different ways to organize my information. And the font is not the best, but that doesn't really matter because what I'm thinking about is the structure of what this is. So here I kind of thought, I could have the future is like a...
I love that, a pattern kind of. Or...
Yeah, like a frame within the frame. So that's why I needed these made-up guides. And putting the word female kind of in the middle. And here I'm thinking about doing something that actually shows the word being lifted.
Oh, cool.
So like, how can I play with it?
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to start from here. And maybe if I... maybe if I copy it a few times and put a gradient.
Oh, it'll show like it's moving.
Yeah.
That's fun. I like that.
That's what I'm going to try.
There's a question in chat of saying, if you're someone who like forgets to ask a question, and then you get home and you're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't ask this question. How do you usually handle that? Do you go back and you're like, hey, after looking at it, I have a few more questions. I just want to follow up, or like, or do you schedule a meeting, or?
That's a perfect way to put it. I think the hardest thing sometimes is how to write your email professionally, in a way that's respectful of you and of them. Yeah. Because you can be like, oh, now I can't ask questions. Yes, you can, right? Just don't make a big deal about it. But if you already set up your contract and, whatever is in the contract is kind of what goes, I would say now you learn a lesson for next time. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
If that makes sense. But setting up meetings is good. I think setting up meetings, especially for feedback reviews, is also good. Yeah. Because sometimes the feedback is not very clear. So, let's say you have like a black and white version. It's good to have that meeting where you can be like, okay, what do you mean by it's weird?
Yeah. When you say that, actually, there's another question that's kind of like that too, that says, do you ever have a client send a visual example for references such as words like modern and elegant? I definitely do that. I'll say, hey, I'd love to see what you resonate with or what you're thinking when you say modern, because it can mean two different things to us. And I'll be very transparent with the client about that and just say, I'd love to see what you're thinking. Could you pull a reference like specifically for that? And typically they're happy to do so, especially if you tell them, like, I want to make sure that we're on the same page, So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think trying to understand what they mean is the hardest part, because sometimes you feel like you're not allowed to, like, especially if you're, I'm going to say that because I went through that, right? When you're starting, you feel like, now I'm going to be bothering them. Like, you're not bothering them. I think confidence is a big question when you're starting as a solo designer. Perhaps not so much if you're in a company. I don't know. How was that for you? Because I know you did freelancing too, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think at any point, a client wants to know that they're being heard and understood. And so I feel like sometimes asking questions is a way of showing that, right? Of, I think I heard you, but I just want to clarify. And I think that in my job experience, it's been consistent throughout, right? Even if someone just asks you to do a certain task, clarifying, hey, is this the timeline that you actually had in mind? Or like, hey, is this what you meant by that? Just to make sure that you're, working towards the same goal together, I think is really important.
Yeah, so back to this, I copied because I want to have a memory of what I did. Like, this is
your version of it.
Yeah, I want to have several versions so I can, if I decide that what I do in the end, I hate it, I can go back to a point where I liked it. And if you just, override everything that you're doing all the time, you're going to miss that. You're going to miss opportunities to maybe come up with a different idea that the client's going to like more.
Right, and so this would be considered like a non-destructive workflow in the sense that you're preserving every step of your process so that you can always go back, which is a really smart way to work.
Yes, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up the fonts that I actually wanna use.
Awesome.
Now that I have my
Your
idea of
outlines.
Yeah, so this is kind of the hierarchy of the elements in the page. You can see there's a lot of space for us to put more illustrative elements later. But this is kind of the space that the text is taking, and it's really important to determine that right in the beginning, I think. Of course, the design process is never gonna be linear, so don't think it will. But if you do this, it's kind of an easier way to keep yourself organized and then show the client your design process, why you're doing this, why you're doing that. So why am I doing this here? Because now I need this poster series to have like a coherent look and feel. But I don't want them to look exactly the same, right? They need to look like this one complements this one and complements the other one. So that's why I'm trying to think of different ways to organize the text on a page, and I'm also gonna try to play with the fonts a little bit to make it more unique.
I'm excited.
I hope we have time.
Let's do it. Yes, we are about 25 minutes into the stream, so about halfway through. So
yeah,
we're ready to roll.
Yeah, so here I have my idea, and since I'm gonna be modifying the fonts, I can delete this.
There actually was a question briefly in the chat about that, of why didn't you use the blend tool? And I think it's just because you're doing more of like your framework and sketching. That wasn't the final version of that gradient. You were just kind of reminding yourself like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is a way to remember your idea.
Yeah,
these are ideas.
A sketch almost.
Yeah, this is like an ideation process done on Illustrator.
Perfect. We love it.
Yes. Perfect. Okay, so I kind of want to modify the focus words into something that I can, you know, make it like my own style. And my own style, what does that mean? Is that it's like chubby, it's round. So I'm looking for chubby and round fonts.
If you are not familiar with Mickt's work, you definitely need to be. Your work is so fun, so colorful, so unique the way that you use shapes and everything. So definitely go check her out online. I think the links should be below the description for this video. But maybe the mods could drop in a direct link as well, because your work is wonderful.
Yeah, so remember that when the client approaches you, they're also interested in your personal style, right? Especially if you already have a portfolio up. So in this case, it's good to not lose yourself totally,
right?
You know,
because they're coming to you for what you do.
Sorry, yes, yeah, no, but like specifically in this case, because it was in the brief to be fun, right? So I think my style can be defined as fun a little bit.
Your stuff is so fun.
I don't know. Yeah. So I'm gonna. Oh, I like this one.
Ooh, is this New Kansas? I also like New Kansas.
Oh my god.
Is this an Adobe font?
Yeah, they're all Adobe fonts.
Ah, I love that. Let me find it.
And I just, you know, searched for them on the Adobe font website. Whenever I need fonts that are a little bit more, you know, not so basic, because this is what adds personality to your work.
Totally. New Kansas is so cute.
It is.
I'm looking at it right now. So if you are at home and by your computer, which you probably are if you're watching the stream, definitely go to fonts.adobe.com and check out New Kansas. It's an adorable font, but it also has a lot of personality, but also has a little bit of like maturity to it, I feel like, by being a serif font. But that's kind of my opinion of serif fonts. I feel like they're a little fancy. They're wearing like their best dress.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of chose to pair them together, because they are different, but they kind of go together.
Totally.
You know, they're like round. It's a serif font, but it's round.
It's friendly. And the other font you chose is like, has a heavier weight to it, and it's also very round and kind of bubbly feeling.
Yeah.
But it has structure to it still, which I feel like complements each other well. Yeah,
absolutely. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start modifying this font. This font's called Delicious. It only has...
really?
Yes, it does. It only has one mode, but it's fine because I like this. And
it's delicious.
It's delicious, and I'm going to modify it. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do right-click, create outlines.
Nice.
So now it's not font anymore.
It's a shape.
It's a shape.
Right.
Ungroup.
Okay.
So you see there's
individual
separate
letters.
Yes. And I'm going to try to bring this font more to my style. So a little bit more round.
Oh, our mod just dropped the link to New Kansas in the chat. Thank you so much, Cody. Everyone go home or be at home and design with New Kansas.
Yeah, and they have so many different weights.
They have so many weights, which I love a font with weights. And it has an extra swash, so it seems like it has like a glyph version too.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to love so much on New Kansas in this stream, but we are.
Yeah, and I just recently discovered them. You know, designers that do this are amazing.
So true. Yeah, designing a typeface is no easy business. Okay, so you're coming in here now and you are modifying the individual anchor points, it seems. You're adjusting the Bezier curves, you're moving things around to give it a little of your unique spin on it. Yeah,
I'm trying to make it so it looks more like a chubby, gummy thing. Does it make sense?
You want to be able to like chew it? Like how gummy are we going?
Because right now it's a little bit too perfect, too geometric. Fair. So I'm gonna delete this point. And you know, all the points that you select at the same time, you can kind of it's funny that I did that as I said that. You can kind of modify them only.
So you're holding shift click with the direct select tool.
Holding shift with the direct select tool.
Ooh, I like what you're doing here.
So that's what I'm trying to do. Sometimes when you click, it doesn't go, so that's why I did that. So I'm trying to create a little bit of a belly here.
Oh my gosh, yes, so round.
But not too much.
I like that you called it a belly. I feel like designers have so many funny words that we use to, like, there are very technical terms for these things in the print and type world, but I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, look at the little arm, look at the little foot, you know. The belly, I haven't heard that, but I really like it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I try to communicate.
It's
you
so
see
much
how
cuter.
It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more friendly. And it's important to stay consistent when you do this. So we're gonna do the same thing with the G because, you know, it's a letter that looks like a C, so it has the opportunity for us to do the same thing. So I'm dragging and I'm bringing this little belly here.
More bellies on letters, please.
Yeah. And, you know, this is a little bit too straight. Maybe I can do something like that. Yeah, cool. So now they're a little bit, you know, they're conversing much more. For the A, I don't like how this is basically a round rectangle.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to make it more round.
So when you're clicking that, what are you doing? What is that shortcut?
I'm clicking with the direct selection tool, and then I'm removing.
And what are you removing?
The specific anchor point.
Okay.
Like I'm not, like if you just hit delete, I think it kind of...
breaks the path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to remove it.
I just want to make sure that we're all, because it's kind of a tiny little click up there that we're all tracking with what you're doing.
It's so tiny for me too, but it's okay. You get used to it after a while. So I'm going to select both of these points.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring them up because I'm going to create a little belly here too. Every time where I see something a little bit too flat, I'm going to create a belly and I'm going to use the add anchor point.
Which is also a short key. If you just press plus, it will bring up that hotkey for you.
Absolutely.
So fun. Someone in chat was asking about the A. They felt like it was a little bit hard to read, but I feel like you're giving it a little more shape. But I also think it's okay with this kind of style. It may not be the most easily accessible, but I feel like the overall shape is still recognizable, right?
Yes, and as long as you're not doing a whole text with this kind of font.
Like a paragraph or something crazy.
Yeah, so this is more like what we call a display font.
Yep.
So just for titles, just for short things, because they might have this quality of being hard to read. Yeah, like you're totally right. In my case, I'm trying to not make it too abstract. But it can, you know, there are many designers who are famous for playing with letters that much, so much that they become like work of art. You know? They're so abstract.
Was it David?
They're beautiful.
David Carson who did the publication that was all in Webdings. Remember Webdings? The font.
I don't know.
I think it was David Carson. Yeah, and he like got the brief from the client, and he was like, "This doesn't say anything," and so he put the whole font in Webdings, which obviously you can't read. And he was very famous for that. I think it's him. If not, I'm giving credit. Chat, keep me honest. If it's not David Carson, let me know.
Yeah, let us know too, because I would be really interested in that. What I love about type is when you make it your own. You know, like I've been scared of type for so long in the beginning of my graphic design career because, you know, you gotta follow a structure. Every little part has a name.
And it's not belly.
It's not belly. Like if you don't know the names, you're like not a real designer. But of course, I'm talking about almost 10 years ago, right? Now you can see that things became much more democratic in a way that the internet has allowed more people to play with design, more people to be creative, you know, tools like the popularization of tools like the Adobe Suite, which was something that only, you know, super professionals had access to back in the day. Now what is happening is that you see more creative work that's not the same. You have different people from different backgrounds creating design. And I think that's so important to have. And that's why, you know, shows like this, can I call this a show?
Yeah.
Streams like this are really important too, because you guys bring a lot of diversity. And with diversity, you have different perspectives, different ideas, so that, you know, the future of design is always fresh.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like it takes people from all walks of life and all experiences to bring new ideas and everything all together.
Yes,
and
all walks of life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's so important.
Especially on Women's Month.
Let's
you know,
talk that. Yeah.
When I was in school, you know, you would listen to, professors were, you know, men and women, but the people that you would study were mostly men. And I feel like, not always, but many times they're going to create different kinds of work, you know, because their experience as a human in this world is different.
Totally different, yeah.
So it's really important to also have, you know, people from different backgrounds creating work and pay attention to those people as much as we do pay attention to the traditional, you know, founders of whatever in design. Yeah, like, you know, the people that are already celebrated in design. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, so we have our layout. We have some fun type. What's next for us?
Now I am gonna create a negative shape to add here, and I'm gonna make it more unique than that length triangle that we had.
Triangles, we love you, but it wasn't fitting the bill this time.
Yeah, no. What I usually do with mine, I do like a ellipse like that. Like a twisted ellipse, or I do stars. And I think the word magic, it's the perfect opportunity to add stars.
I was just saying, to me, it's a star.
Yeah, so I'm going to create some elements here outside with the star.
So fun.
Is it called a star tool?
Star tool, yep. And the star tool recently got a lot of updates and really fun things and features that came to it. So it's a lot more customizable within the star shape itself.
And what I like about this too is that, like, you can always edit your star, like here. Right. You can just change it.
Which that's a newish feature within the last year, I think.
Oh, God.
That, or I didn't update my Illustrator for that long, but
you did.
I doubt it was that. I think
so we have, so like you have different kinds of stars. Like there is no need, like even if you sketch, you can sketch, but you don't need to like vectorize stars no more. Illustrator does that for you.
Imagine drawing the star with the pen tool. That when I started design school, that was definitely one of our workflows was, you know, the pen tool exercise, and it was like draw a star from scratch, which is very hard to keep it, you know.
Oh God, yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? Like symmetrical, basically.
Symmetrical.
Terrible, but no more. Star tool's here for us.
Yeah. So I'm gonna create a little bit of other like illustration shapes.
So
I think
fun.
I'm gonna twist a little bit more, and I'm gonna copy. And I like the distance between these elements, so I'm just gonna do, why is it not working?
What were you looking to do?
I was gonna hit Command D.
Command D is repeat, right? Repeat
the repeat tool. But now I can see, I think it's a little bit too large. Yeah, I think this is what I want. I think this is cool.
That.
Yeah. I'm gonna do another circle. That's not an ellipse, it's like a perfect circle, but it's a little bit like half circle.
Chat is saying that they went to design school in 2005 and that they used a lot of the pen tool. I believe that.
Yeah, and
I love pen tool. I'm not afraid of the pen tool. I feel like it takes a little bit of time to learn the pen tool.
You're not afraid?
I'm not afraid. Some people are terrified of the pen tool, which I get. It can feel very confusing if you're just drawing points aimlessly, but
yeah,
when harnessed correctly, very strong.
Yeah, that's why, you know, I've always been an advocate for organic shapes and things, because that way you embrace the irregularity of things in the real world.
True. So if you're just joining us, we are about 3/4 of the way through here on designing typographic posters celebrating women. This is going to be a 2-part stream, so if you want to come back, oh, thank you for the schedule slide. If you want to come back at 12 p.m., Mickt will be here again, finishing this and bringing this to life. Up next, I'm going to be designing some small business appreciation cards because this month, March, is also Small Business Appreciation Month. Yeah. So I'm going to be designing some cards, and then we have Anna-Alexia, and she's going to be celebrating women and editing women's portraits. Sorry, I was trying to read and talk at the same time, and I got a little lost
I'm so
there.
excited to see what she does.
She is so wonderful. I'm so excited to have her on.
I am a big fan of people that do stuff like that. Okay, so I created my elements here, as you can see. I have 2 versions, one with just stroke and one where everything's filled. And I'm gonna use one of the stars to be, you know, the negative space inside.
The counter. I know that word actually. That's the only type word that I always remember. The counter.
Yeah.
And you're gonna subtract it out. Okay.
Yeah, subtract it using Pathfinder. So now it's, you know, one thing.
Which means that if you put this like a color behind it, we're gonna see that. It just doesn't show right now because it's on white.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing with the other letters, and for the letters where we already edited things, we're just gonna copy and paste, right?
Oh, smart. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna create outlines.
I recently learned the hotkey for create outlines, which I think is like Command-Shift-O. And
yeah, I do not.
You said, don't even tell me. I don't want to know.
I don't even want to remember. Like, I enjoy knowing where it is because let's say I'm using a different computer.
Right.
Or the key changes.
You never know. You never know.
It will change in a few years, but of course it's going to be the same.
Yeah,
you can modify. And I enjoy knowing where it is because when I was, you know, working Photoshop, what happened was I learned all the hotkeys, and then one day they magically changed.
You said, where am I?
And I was like,
how did I get here?
Yeah, what's going on? And I just, they changed the keys. Okay, so here we have the word female, but those E's were a little bit not how I want. You see how the M is boxy?
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that as a guide to make everything more boxy. Does that make sense?
I'm excited. It could mean a lot of things, so I'm ready to see where you take this.
So I'm gonna create a shape around here.
Ooh, Michelle has a good call out in the chat. Yes, you can also search for fonts on Adobe Fonts by mood and vibe. That's very true. You don't have to put in like as clear of a name. You can just say like really fun typeface that feels like this. Maybe not that long, but you can search that way now, which is cool.
Yeah, I like putting keywords like that.
I see what you're saying now.
Does it make sense?
Yes, sorry. I see what you're saying about the boxy shape. I wasn't sure if you were gonna like turn the letter, so I wasn't, you know.
Let's make it a little bit lighter.
I think that's really important whenever you're customizing typefaces to keep them around the same size. Like, yes, you can have something fun like a tiny little eye, or like you could modify that way, but if there's too much variation between, it can really impede the readability of your font, which chat is also saying, I hate when a billboard is like difficult to read, especially when you're driving fast, like, or, you know, the speed limit, obviously, but it is really important for something to be legible and readable as you're going about your life. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens is that like letters like L and F have different weight, you know, so sometimes you're gonna need to do your own thing, and I'm gonna show you how you can do your own thing here. So I'm kind of creating a little longer thing, and I also want this to be round, so here you can see it's the round rectangle. See?
Cute.
So that it doesn't look weird when I have all the letters. It doesn't look like there's too much space between the letters.
Right. And that's because of the orientation you're doing, right? Where it's stacked.
Yeah, it's also because, you know, different letters have a different shape. And sometimes you're just gonna need to work with that.
Okay, so you're gonna copy this then to make the E, I assume, is what we're putting here. Cool. So you're gonna do like the traditional letter form kind of, but you're gonna use the same rectangle shape to build that.
Yeah,
cool.
And basically, you know, E, it's an E. And you can just make it with round rectangles. Like, don't be afraid to experiment with the shapes. I think it's a really cool thing that you have access to here in Illustrator is to build with shapes.
Yeah.
And doing that here is so much easier than doing that by hand, you know, unless you're like completely the kind of person that has, you know, those people that have the perfect handwriting
can draw a
and
straight
everything.
line like easily.
Yeah,
I'm like, give me a ruler, please.
Yeah. Okay, so I made an E.
Oh, it's so fun. The other E was definitely fun, but shorter. So this one has very long
this
arms.
one is a little bit more, it fills the space much more. So when you see it smaller, it's not going to look weird that all this space here is missing.
Are you going to give the F a little arm reach here, or is F going to stay the same?
No, F is going to be the E minus
Sorry,
one
F,
rectangle.
you got to, it's your turn to shine. You got to get longer arms.
This is the F. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. I wanted to know where we were going with the F.
So, work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. That's what Adobe Live is here for. Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah. And this one maybe needs to be a little bit thicker. I think it's cool. So, now that I have all my letters, I am going to
merge them together.
Yeah, unite, I think it's called.
I never know the names. I really should.
Yeah, you gotta just
I just click around.
You just gotta wait, and it tells you what it is. Sometimes we want everything quickly. Here, yeah, it's called unite, and then you can, you know, make sure everything is round. Like if you're going for a round type, make sure everything is round.
Smart.
Don't overlook those details because that's what's gonna that's make or break the design, I think, especially for modifying fonts. But if you're just starting to do this, I would say do it like we did here. You know, start with a small word, one word that, not small, like one short word that's like the focus point. You know, you don't need to edit everything because that's definitely gonna take a lot of your time. And if you just want to practice, this is a good starter point. And here too, we're gonna make it round a little bit more. Okay.
Cute. Would you go up just briefly so we can see the previous one, so we can almost see the side by side of like the unedited type? Yeah. See how there's so much like negative space on the sides, and now you've kind of made it one like block, which is awesome.
Yeah, and also notice how it was really boring, and
now it's so fun.
Serious, and now it's much more friendly and inviting.
Now I want to look at it.
Yes.
Right. Before I was like, okay, I see what it says, but now I'm like, wait, I want to read it more.
Like, yeah, it's not so basic, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna edit more things here. So, okay, we have 10 minutes left, and what I'm gonna do before we finish this is we're gonna try to edit this word.
Okay.
Okay. So on group, I already transformed it into shapes. So I'm gonna delete this. Because I already made the E, so I can just copy it. Don't need to worry.
Tiny E, small E.
And the font, the original font is a little bit too
narrow.
Yeah, like more rectangle. But I want it almost like a blob. If that makes sense.
I liked when you said gummy earlier. I think we should say you want a more gummy blob-like.
I want it more gummy.
I love that.
Okay, and kind of don't worry if it, you know, deforms things because you can always edit it. And the way I'm gonna edit the H is kind of the same thing I did with M. So I am going to add a little belly down, a little belly up. So a little belly here and little belly here, and then they're aligned, perfect. And let's make them, you know, round, and let's make them a little bit, oops, let's zoom more.
I know, sometimes the Bezier handles are just so tiny.
This green against the white.
Yeah, I know. Oh, probably because what layer we're on or something. Each layer gets its own fun little color.
Yeah, they
assignment.
Do. I always forget to change that, but you can't change that. Just remember, you can't change that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's add one here. Let's kind of add one here. I don't think it worked because you got to select the shape.
Your shape does need to be selected in order for you to add another point to it.
Okay.
Cool. Back to direct select.
I can bring it, and it shows you where it's when it's in the middle, right?
Right. And that like hot pink magenta line is showing us where it.
Yeah. Do you know how to activate that? If it's not activated, where would I go?
I think it's under your settings. Let me poke around really quick and get back.
Because I know sometimes that can disappear.
Yeah, I think you go under Illustrator and then you go over to settings and general. And in general, I don't know which panel it's in, but you can definitely turn on your grids and guides. I think it's under guides and grids.
Is it called like a automatic? I forgot what it's called, but if you know what it's called, you can find it.
It's so different. Yeah, there's guides, and I think it's under Smart Guides, actually.
Smart Guides.
Yeah.
That might be the name.
So let me give you the walkthrough one more time. So you go to Illustrator, you go to Settings, and then you can go to just General, and then you could scroll all the way down to Smart Guides, and then just make sure that those are turned on appropriately.
Yeah, like
customize
your
do that
program. If you don't have it, because it's gonna really help your
Some
flow.
people absolutely hate it though. It's almost like Snap to Pixel, where some people hate Snap to Pixel. But it depends on the project.
I hate Snap to Pixel.
Yeah, but if you're doing like, you know, more of like a web-friendly thing, Snap to Pixel can be helpful. Or if you're doing a certain style, but to each their own.
Yeah, so here I'm deleting some points because it was still too round, and I wanted it to look a little bit more organic.
Jeff said that he would get this custom font. Could we be expecting a custom font release from you in the future, maybe? No pressure, no pressure.
In the near future, I don't know, because you gotta do all the other letters and the alphabet.
Yeah. And all of the like pairings and all of that. Building a font is no joke.
The pairings.
Oh Not that I've done it, but I actually did once, but it was crazy.
I looked into it.
I don't think I did all the pairings though. I think I just like made the typeface and like, you know, gave a few pairings. But if you're selling a font or I don't know, like really going after it, there's a lot of pairings that you have to go through. Meaning, right, like if the Y is next to the A, like how are they sitting next to each other? Because those are letters with a lot of dead space between them. So there's a lot you have to do.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, right? You might need to adapt it to make an adapted version.
And so every time you type in the typeface, every time it sees those two letters together, it'll have a different typesetting to it. So if you want to talk about math and letters, then look more into typography.
And that's something that you might not even notice until you need to work on it.
Until you see a bad font and you're like, oh, why is there a weird space here? Someone didn't, you know, add this correctly.
And that just makes me abandon the font altogether when that happens.
Then we're using something else. All right. We're in the final 4 minutes here as we're wrapping up. So do you want to walk us through maybe like how we got to where we are and then set us up maybe for success for the next stream? And then we can keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So first, we just had this, which was our mock design brief. We had some information, and with this information, we started to put down our ideas on the paper and really organize the information on the page as where everything's gonna be, you know, how big I want things to be, without thinking about the style or colors or, you know, textures or anything like that, just the information first. And then we copied our boards so that we don't lose the information, and then we made it beautiful.
Yes, I love this custom type you've done too.
Yeah, thank you. And then next time, right when we're back at 12, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add more illustration elements, and we're gonna start playing with the colors to finalize all the 3 posters.
Oh, I'm so excited. So what I'm hearing is that obviously stay tuned for the whole day, but definitely be back at 12 if you wanna see where we're gonna be taking this.
Yeah, please do that. I know it's gonna be great.
Okay, cool. So we have a couple minutes left. Do you wanna keep working where we are now, and then we can sign off in a couple minutes?
Okay, so what I can do here is I can try to copy this style. That's probably what I'm gonna attempt. There might not be time, but if there isn't,
I believe in you. You got this.
Oh no. I think they gotta be a little bit, Now I'm kind of concerned of their placement, and I'm gonna make them lighter.
And why are you making them lighter?
So when I put them up here, when I copy them, I can make them slightly darker.
Nice.
So we're basically working on that same idea, but we are trying to see if it still has the same effect with this new font that we decided to use, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this could be a little bit, I should have grouped them. This could be a little bit closer together. We can work on that in the next hour. But this is essentially the idea. So now you have the idea of what you want to do with the fonts that you already know you're going to use.
I love that.
It's like one step next to one step forward.
I'm seeing a little red box, which means we lost some type. Do you see the little red box? I'm seeing it right here.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Should we bring that back?
I don't think we lost some type. I think
the
type is lost.
There it is.
Oh, we did lose. Wow.
I only saw
Thanks.
it on the other side where the is. Yeah. So if you ever see the
Thanks.
little red box, that means, which this happens to me all the time, and I really should look more closely, that you have type that is inside the box but not being shown, and so you need to drag your text box so that you can see everything that's in the box.
Yes, and that can happen too if you give too much space.
Yep. Or if you just accidentally drag it down and you don't realize it, you can lose type that way, which for your client it's very important that everything that they want on there is on there.
Yeah.
But it is helpful to see that.
That's totally true. So here you can see like I aligned it to the center of the page, and you
Yes.
can see my guides kind of don't work anymore.
Goodbye, guys.
So I can go to my guides, and I'm not gonna say goodbye to them because
We're just gonna hide them.
Yeah, what if I need them, right?
That's so true.
I'm gonna put them in kind of the right place,
Okay.
and I'm gonna remove the opacity of just these.
Perfect.
So if you need them, they're here.
I love that.
Isn't that cool?
Yes, that's so. I don't know why I whispered that.
all the other all the other guys are still here, still visible. Just that one, it's kind of invisible, and then you can just lock it, and it's not gonna, bother you. Yeah, it's not gonna move or anything. But it's here if you need it. If you
That's
want to make something
perfect.
else in
Yeah.
the same style, and that's what the non-destructive thing comes in play.
Non-destructive is the way to go. Well, this has been an
Yeah.
amazing stream. So excited to see where you take this. So if you tuned in, we're so glad that you're here. Stick around. Up next, I'm going to be designing some cards as a thank you for small businesses. And then Mickey's
love
going to be
that.
back at 12 to finish these posters. So stick around.
All right, thank you, y'all.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I am Anna-Alexia Basile here with Emily Poulin, our favorite graphic designer.
Oh my gosh, favorite. Wow, what an honor.
So what are we going to be working on today?
A great question. We are going to be celebrating Women's History Month and Small Business Month by creating some thank you cards that you can send to your favorite small business, appreciating them for what they do and all that they bring to your life. So I'm going to be doing a very interesting workflow. I'm going to be working in Illustrator and then jumping to Express.
Ooh.
And then I think we're going to touch on Photoshop Web. I don't know if you've done Photoshop Web yet.
Oh, Photoshop Web is like my favorite. I'm traveling
and
I'm like in a car working on images that I just took. It's the best.
Okay, amazing. I don't use it as often, but I'm super excited. So maybe you'll have to show me some, tips and tricks as we go. But yeah, so I'm really excited. It's gonna be really fun. And I'm also gonna share these as a remixable template for you guys in Express. So if you wanna share this with your favorite small business and edit it for your liking, you'll be able to do that. So that's the plan.
Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. Okay, cool. So here we are in Illustrator, and I am going to choose some typeface. Do I have a box? No, what is that? All right, we're fine. I saw a weird little line there, and I said, what's on my artboard? So I wrote down some ideas of phrasing that I might want to use and thank you in a couple languages, because I was like, what other type should I put on here? So that's what we're going to think about. And then I put down some ideas for like shapes and things to keep me on track, because I feel like sometimes when you're designing live, you can think, I have no other ideas. So I gave myself some starting points.
I like that you have your notes.
Yeah, well, if you saw this hiding up here, that's what's going on. So I'm thinking we're gonna do a 4x6 horizontal. I don't know why it's a size by 11 by 17. So let me resize that up here using our artboard tool. So width of 6, and then I'm gonna do a height of 4. And then you're a photographer, but do you ever go into Illustrator, or is this like a brand new world for you?
You know, Illustrator was like the first place I started making my invoice and contract templates.
Okay.
And I literally have a template that I think like my boyfriend created
in Illustrator?
In many, many, many years ago. And yes, that is like kind of the extent of my Illustrator experience. So I'm excited to check out what you're doing.
You can update your invoice now. You'll see like new ways to do it, and it'll be really exciting. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with just our classic thank you. And kind of the design, let me give you a little bit more of what I'm thinking here. I'm thinking we're gonna do like little stickers, almost, you know how like fruit stickers, like design is kind of like a trendy thing right now. I thought it'd be kind of fun to build out some fun shapes and sizing and do some like pattern play with stickers kind of. So that's kind of, yeah, our initial plan for today. So I'm gonna have this typeface, and I wanna do one sticker that definitely is more type driven and keeping us focused on what we are, what our purpose is here. So I'm gonna keep this as is, and then I'm gonna jump over to fonts.adobe.com. And if you were tuned in previous to this, Mickt and I were looking through typefaces, and she mentioned New Kansas, which I forgot how much I love. So I do think we're gonna use New Kansas for some of this. So if you haven't used Adobe fonts before, you can add all of these to your library with your Creative Cloud subscription, which is awesome. So I have a few fonts, or a few weights already installed from New Kansas, but if you wanted to add more, you totally can. I think I'm good with the ones I have for now. Maybe I might add like the italic version, because I don't think I have that one. And then I also found out that there are some fun swashes, which I didn't know about. So I am gonna add some of these, because if there's a glyph and a swash, I definitely want it.
Wait, question though.
Yeah.
How are you judging what font to use? Like, is it a feeling?
Good question.
Like, I feel like there are some things where people just like have sensibility around how to put an outfit together or how to put together a space. Like, what are some tips that you have for people when selecting a font?
Yes, that's a great question. Also, a moment for your outfit. I'm still loving the pink. It's everything. I think, so obviously readability and legibility are really important, and Mickt and I were kind of talking about that some typefaces, if they're really ornate or kind of just odd shapes, that you don't want to be setting like a long paragraph in that, right? Because it's hard to read. So I think that's like top of mind for me is, you know, what's easily accessible for what I'm using. So like I wouldn't be using a font, can I zoom in like this? Yeah. Like if I said a whole paragraph and it had all these like fancy things on it, it might be too much. So you definitely want to keep in mind like what's my use case, and then like how much type is going to be in this. And then you can get into things like, are the letters spaced correctly? Like did someone code this font in a way that is like actually usable, or are we getting a lot of weird spaces where like words look like they're like separated, you know? Because that does happen. So yeah, I would say like look at like what application it is, and then kind of type voice is important. And type voice is like the feeling that a typeface gives you, right? Like this I think is like cute, professional, and friendly. Where like if we did something like this, like scary. Oh, sorry, that was in all caps.
scary.
Look, now it's scary. And that's kind of what type voice is. Like, it's a feeling that you get. Like, you don't even have to read it. You can just look at it and you know, like, what is going to be said to you, right? Like, this isn't going to say, like, you're so nice. It's going to say something scary, like meltdown or primal scream. That's crazy.
I'm hearing meltdown in like a metal voice, like meltdown.
See, yeah. And that is type voice. If you need to know more, that's type voice. So what's cool about Adobe fonts is that you can search now by using descriptive words like that. In the past, you used to have to use something more type specific, like a serif typeface, right? Or a sans serif or something like that. But now you can type in other keywords like that, which is a cool new feature. So I'm gonna actually type in chutzpah because the Chutzpah sisters have really awesome typefaces that I wanna use on these stickers. I think they'd be super fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, their stuff is so fun. I think I have Venice. Look, I already have all their fonts installed. Okay, great.
Yeah, you do really like them.
So I'm true to my word. I really love their typefaces. They just create really fun, very California typefaces, I think, and I'm making sure that I have all the weights, which I do. Okay, so Venice Boulevard, definitely making the cut. New Kansas, making the cut, and maybe we'll start from there. How do you feel about that?
I love it.
You love that? Okay. Let me go back to Illustrator. I never hide my taskbar except for when I'm here, and so it's always hard for me to get back to it. Okay, great. So I'm gonna come up here then, and I'm gonna type in New Kansas. And I'm gonna pull out the swatch. Look at that, so fun already. The swatch version, and I kind of want to see, since I haven't looked at it yet, I'm going to use the direct select and highlight these two, and then I'm gonna come to type and glyph, and I want to see like the glyph panel. And the glyph panel gives you the alternates for letters. So if there's an extra swatch or if there's an extra pairing, Mickt and I were also talking about this, that certain letters, when they're next to something else, may have like a unique shape. So like this, for example, is the TI. So like typically, right, it would be like the I has the little dot, but because this is a specific pairing for this capital T, they merge that into this like unique shape. So this font has a lot of really cool ones. And also things like if you need like accents or certain other marks, those will be there for you. Wow. And I like a font that has a lot of glyphs. I think it's really fun and gives you like kind of a custom look without having to do too much customization yourself. But let me type back what we actually want. And I'm gonna see for this K if we have anything else fun. Oh, it looks like it's the same.
It's cool that it completely changes the shape of the letter too,
right?
In response to whatever is next to it. I never knew this.
Yeah, and so like sometimes, not a bad typeface, but less fine-tuned typefaces may not have this, and so you'll have two letters next to each other, like a capital A and a capital V, and there'll be like a lot of really bad dead space there. But so if you have glyphs and customizations, you can pull those together and like give different pairings. So yeah, every letter takes up its own amount of space, and it's important that you take that into account. So
so much I had never thought about in regard to
letter placement and the things that you read every day. One of my good friends, she is in a non-design related field, and like she likes to play the game with me. She's like, well, what font is this? And she'll just like point to something. I'm like, okay, I don't know all fonts, but I do know a lot of fonts. But it really changes the way that you know interact with the world around you.
You only know 99.99999% of fonts.
I can't know the whole 100%. That'd be crazy. Okay, so a hotkey here for you. I'm gonna turn this into outline. So I'm gonna do Command-Shift-O. Another way to do that is right-click and create outlines. And what this does is it converts it into a shape instead of a typeface, meaning that it's no longer editable. It is just a shape living on an artboard now. It's no longer a typeface. Okay, so I have thank you, and then I'm also gonna do, we'll do gracias. Yeah, right?
So, quick question.
Yeah.
So Sue is asking, do we eventually need to pay for the font license for commercial use on a client project?
It's a great question. I believe that all of these are, I don't think these have, oh, let's see, actually there's licensing here. So it looks like you can take a look. So it's probably gonna be specific per font. So maybe when you are looking at something and you wanna make sure that it's ready, scroll down to the licenses area and you could take a look. Where'd it go? Licensing. Oh, it is down here.
Okay, great. And then Michelle says the full Adobe Fonts library is cleared for both personal and commercial use.
Thanks,
Amazing.
Michelle. That's what I thought, but I just wanted to like check it out as we're looking at this just to make sure. So yeah, if you have very specific questions, could be right there for you. Okay, Venice Boulevard was the one I was looking for. Lone Pine is one of their other typefaces, but we're gonna do Venice. Very Southern Californian.
Very.
You're like NorCal based, right?
I'm based in San Francisco.
Right. That's NorCal.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes. Based in San Francisco, but still love going down south. Love the heat.
That's true. I know. It's always unexpectedly cold and like raining up here, I feel like. Okay.
Are you based in SF?
I'm based in Southern California.
Oh.
Yeah. So I came in yesterday.
No wonder you love the Venice font.
Yeah, I'm like, let's talk about Southern California. That's all I want to talk about. Okay. That looks awesome. So now I have some typefaces and some things that are going to be like grounding for our project, but I'm going to bring in some color as well. So I'm going to come over to Adobe Color, and I'm going to type in here, I'm going to do Explore. And what's like the vibe that we want? Maybe like vintage color pop?
Ooh.
I don't know. Let's see what we get.
I like those words together.
Right? Okay, I'm liking this. I'm going to add it to my library, no question. Oh, it doesn't want to add to my library. Please. I'm gonna click in now and see, let's see. Add to library. Okay, so we're not gonna add to library. We're gonna download and see that if we can pull it in that way. But when in doubt, I'm also just gonna download a JPEG and then we'll go from there. That's funny, I wonder why it's not linking.
These are really fun colors though.
Aren't they
I
fun?
love all of these options.
Okay, this also feels very fun. It kind of covers like a good range of colors. Does this one wanna add? Let's see, add to library. Ah, strange, I wonder why. Let me refresh.
Sometimes when I'm working on a project, I feel like my computer or the internet just want to be really rude to me.
Right.
And then the moment I call someone else over to look at it after I've been working on it for an hour, it just instantly works.
Do you want to look at it then? Make sure that...
Should I just like breathe in a
yeah,
general
you're like,
direction?
Hey, please. Okay, I'm going to download then the JPEG of it and we will just use it that way. Okay.
Sounds good.
I think you can also upload it in like a manual way. Let's see. So I like this. I think this is really fun. I think this is probably the one I'm going to use. But I think Adobe Color is really fun and kind of gives you like a good guiding direction as you're working on something instead of just like being a little bit lost in the RGB land. You know, you can add colors in that way. So I'm going to come to my swatch panel and I feel like you can do...
No, this is fantastic too, because it also really takes the question mark out of your starting point.
Right.
And sometimes even just seeing certain colors will give you ideas for another direction that you want to head in. I think it's great.
It's like inspiration without, you know, having to pull a reference. It's just color, and I think that really can take you a lot of places.
Yeah, big time saver.
So true. Okay, so the workaround then, if your automatic add is not working, is that you can come to your swatches panel, and I went to the little flyout hamburger menu, and I went to open swatch library, and then I said other library. And I downloaded the file, the ASE file. I don't really know what that stands for, but this is the file that you need. And you click open, and then it's gonna load that color swatch in there for you. So I'm gonna have these colors in here now, which is great. So I'm gonna bring some circles out. I like to eyedropper tool like a crazy person and just eyedropper tool everything instead of using my swatch panel. So I like to give myself the shapes and colors on my artboard so I can just pull from those pretty easily. Okay, this is really fun.
Honestly, even just that looks so pretty. The colors go so well together.
Okay, I also like this warmer palette though, so maybe I'm gonna add these two. Let's see. I feel like these kind of give like rainbow sherbet vibes.
Absolutely. It reminds me of like my color palette as a young child moving through the world in the 90s.
That's so true. I was also a young child in the 90s, but I don't remember. Actually, I feel like I had some really crazy overalls that were like purple and then had a bunch of like, yeah, really bright colors on them.
Yeah, thank you to our parents who let us dress ourselves.
I love those overalls. I still love overalls, you know, I'm here for it.
Almost wore overalls today.
I almost did too.
Next time.
But
we'll
mine were white.
twin.
They were boring now, so it's fine. How's chat doing? Did I miss the beginning of this? Barbara, if you did, no worries at all. The replay is always on YouTube, so you could just go there right now and rewind a little bit, and then you'll be up to speed. Hi, Andy. Hi, Erin. And Cody's dropping our links. You guys are the best. I'm so glad you guys are here with us. Adobe Swatch Exchange. Jack, what don't you know? You know everything. Huh. I didn't know that's what it stood for. The more you know. Just like for PDF, what is it? It's like portable document format? It's not portable. I think it's something else. And every time I read it, I'm like, I'm gonna remember that. And I never do.
The words or like the abbreviations that we use every single day.
And you're like,
yet...
what does it mean? I have no idea. Okay, I'm gonna draw some just like really basic shapes right now. So I'm gonna just drag out an oval. And maybe I'll just keep it this cream color. I'm kind of okay with that. I'm gonna send it to the back, and then I'm going to Command-Shift-O, convert this to an outline as well, and then I'm going to do Effect Warp, and I'm gonna go to Bulge. I think that's kind of like the vibe I want, but that seems too much. So maybe I'm gonna go around here. And you know what's kind of annoying is that eyeball, or the top of the eye is really far up there. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna modify this by modifying the exact typeface. And then when I click out of this, it's gonna reapply the warp effect that we have on it. And when I was looking at it, it just seemed like too detached. And that can also be like something else you look for in a typeface is like, are these letters easy to read, or are there parts of it like the eye is really far away that makes it kind of just difficult or distracting? So yeah, a little bit closer now, and that feels better.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Way better.
And as you can see, I'm getting this kind of like weird ghost version sitting in front. So that's the original typeface, and then this is the effect on top of it. So if I come to my appearance panel, you can turn that on and off. So this just means that like the type itself isn't modified, just it's appearing that way. So I'm gonna actually expand that so that the typeface is modified. So I'm gonna do Object, Expand with it selected, and now you can see it is fully that way and there's nothing in my appearance panel. And that's important because if you change the orientation, like let me show you. If I have these selected and it's just the typeface there, if I change the orientation of it, now it applies the effect in like a different way.
Oh, interesting.
Right? And so if you're ever working and you're thinking, wait, that's not how I had it was going on, it means that the warp or like the effect was not fully like applied to the shape itself.
So we need to lock it in.
We're gonna lock it in.
Love it.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard my husband say, lock in. Crazy. Okay, what do? We're doing Object, Expand Appearance, and it's gonna look like this now. Not just my husband. I won't out him like that, but I feel like everyone says that right now.
It's definitely like a newer thing in my vocabulary
Right.
that's like of this moment.
It
for
is,
some reason.
yeah. It's very timely. And like, what did we say before? I think we just said like, I'm gonna focus. You know, like, I don't know. I don't know where or why lock-in came from, but it is. Okay, this is fun. I want more color though, so I'm gonna change this maybe to, you know what? We're gonna go the other way. I'm gonna change the circle or the oval to that color, and I'm gonna make this the hot pink because that's fun. And then I'm gonna do an offset path on this. So I'm gonna do Object, Path, Offset Path, and I just want kind of like the hairline outline on the inside. But to make sure that shape is completely accurate to the shape itself, I'm just gonna use the Offset Path. And I'm gonna put this at like 5 pixels. And I have the preview button checked, so I'm gonna make sure that is previewing, hit OK. And then, did it not get smaller? What happened here? Oh, there it is. I'm gonna eyedropper as well here, and then just change this to my outline. So something that's interesting about these shapes, and I really need to keep working because time flies. If I was to do the shape on top of our current shape and just drag it in, for certain shapes, it doesn't keep the same distance. So you see how this one is like, this outline is completely the same shape as the outside circle, just smaller. Sometimes when you just drag the shape itself, it's gonna create like a larger space here and keep other parts more equal. Shapes are very interesting. Did I lose you? Let me say it more clearly, I guess. So, or I can just show you again. So if you use Offset Path, it keeps it true to the shape itself, right? So this is the Offset Path, it's evenly all around. If you don't use Offset Path and you just copy the shape itself and make it smaller, it's not always even. And so it's important that you're doing that, because otherwise then I'm kind of being like, okay, let me like make it even. And like that's close, but it's not 100% accurate. Yeah, and I think the power of vector and that we have control in Illustrator is that you can make it perfect. And so if you could, why would you not? So
yeah, and you've got that graphic design eye. It needs to, the spacing must be equal.
It's gotta be perfect, because if not, you know that I'm looking at it like, yeah, something's off. I don't know what it is. Okay, I think I'm gonna do, I need to just keep moving. I'm gonna spend way too long on one little sticker. So that's gonna be one sticker here. I'm gonna do Offset Path again here, but I'm gonna do it in the positive. So that one was the negative to make it inside the shape. Now I'm gonna do positive to expand the shape. So I'm gonna do Object Path, Offset Path, and now it's on the outside of that. That width looks good for me. I'm gonna go ahead and merge that. So it's one shape itself and it's still separate from that. And then I'm gonna use the Direct Select tool, which is A, to delete this little inside part, which it's highlighting the outside, and I don't know why. That's weird. Hold on. Okay. Well, we're gonna release the path then to get rid of that little shape there. Oh, it's because it's grouped. That's why. So I'm gonna delete that, and then I'm gonna ungroup this because I didn't want it to be grouped. Please. There it is. Okay. And then I'm gonna make this bright blue, and then let's do this guy maybe the yellow. And I'm gonna bring these over like that.
I love that color combination.
It's cute.
That is so fun.
This feels so nostalgic. I don't know why. Maybe it's like early Walmart days. Or you know what it is? I think it's the banana label. Like, you know, like the little...
Let's call it the banana label.
Let's not drop names in here. Okay. I think I might add a white outline.
Oh, that's so fun.
Thank you. Okay, cute.
The white outline really makes it pop and just takes it to a whole other level.
Let me tell you, putting a stroke on a typeface, which is like the outline, is a very controversial topic, but I lately have just been doing it and liking it. So the idea is like you shouldn't add a stroke if you if you add a stroke, it's because you don't have high enough contrast, but I think sometimes it adds something fun to it. And so it's, you know, to each their own.
And rules are meant to be broken.
That's so true.
They don't apply to everyone.
Yeah, we don't have to listen to them. Okay, this is fun. I'm gonna do a little flower as well. So an easy way to build a flower is I'm gonna use the repeat tool. So I'm gonna do object, repeat, and then I'm gonna go to radial, and look, a flower. So you can decide if you want more or you can do less. So I think I'm gonna do, it's like 5 petal, 6 petal. Oh, that was too many.
I think the fewer is more on brand with the vibe, right?
You're my vibe check. I like that. Okay, object. So I'm going to turn this into a shape now instead of something that's like editable in that instance. So I'm going to expand that, and then I'm going to merge these again. I'm going to release the center compound path, and I'm going to make that, it's like unexpected. Let's do pink, and then this can be the yellow. It's not unexpected, but it's cute. Okay.
I definitely had like a necklace with this shape on it as a kid.
Yeah, right, like the little seeds, like the tiniest little seeds. I love that. That's so true. Okay, this is super fun. And then let's do a little star maybe. And I'm gonna bring this down because I want it to be like a sparkle, not a star, right?
Yeah, we just want that little like ding.
Yeah, exactly. You can like hear it. You know, it's like little wind chimes. Okay, expand that, please.
I feel like I could be wearing all of these stickers right now too, and they would perfectly match my outfit.
You're my inspiration right now. I think it's the pink. Like this is maybe the pink that you're wearing. Maybe it's a little more purple, but it's cute. Okay, I'm gonna do these kind of in their cute little...
Oh my gosh, it's giving emoji.
I was just thinking that.
That is one of my most used emojis too. It's perfect for everything.
Yeah, that's the feeling it gives me. It's like, okay, I'm gonna give this an offset path as well. And I'm just giving everything an offset path. Did I not give it an offset path? Object path. There we are. And I'm giving it that because if I'm going for like a sticker vibe, sticker sheets like are connected, right? So like these 3 stars would have to be connected on something, so that's how they're gonna come together. Is chat hanging with me? Is chat here for the banana stickers?
Chat let us know that it's portable document format.
Oh, I was right. Thank you, Robert. Oh, you were nearly right. What did I say? I don't know. Oh, I think I said file. You're right, format. Yeah, portable document file would be too obvious. We couldn't have that. Okay, and I'm gonna make this maybe the blue. I'm gonna make them non-traditional sparkles.
Ooh. Sparkles with Emily's twist.
Yeah, something different. I'm not gonna keep the background. This is weird. I don't like that I took that out. Hold on. I think it needs that. Something's happening here. I'm gonna Command Z 1 million times. I think these need to be closer together.
We all love a Command Z moment.
It, yeah, right? That's the Friday feeling. Let me figure this out. Okay, object path, offset path. Still getting that weird little blob. To be fair, this is my first design project of the day, so you know I'm still onboarding over here.
Y'all, it is early in San Francisco. It's not even 10:30.
Yeah, let's not be crazy. Okay, that's fun. I have my little flower. Flower needs something though. What does it need? Tell me, flower. What do you need? Maybe just it'll get a sticker moment too. Oh.
Would she ever benefit from another outline?
I was thinking that too. Are you a designer secretly? Tell me.
I'm just vibing off of all of your great colors.
My other
and
vibes?
designs.
Okay, that works for me. Let's do, oh wow. Okay, I didn't mean to give this one, just the outside. Okay, maybe it should be that color. Nah, maybe it's white. Okay.
What if the outline was like one of the warmer, like orangey hues?
Should we branch out? Okay, I'm down. Now it's super retro. Okay, you know what I think it needs to? You know what, I'm gonna use this shape itself. Instead of the counter shape that was given to us, I think I'm just gonna use a duplicate of this one.
Love that.
That might feel, see, that's more fun. The other one was too like pointy, I feel like. And I'm gonna make sure it's just aligned. Actually, someone taught me this, which I didn't realize. If you do align to key shape, I was always coming back up to the panel to do it, but if you highlight both and then double click on the one shape, then it automatically turns you into that key version, which is fantastic. So
ooh, we love a shortcut.
we love a shortcut. And I was like, how did I not know this? That's crazy. Okay. Have some fun little shapes here. Amazing. Let's do, what else I was thinking? Oh, the little pill button. Let's do that. Okay. So this would be just a regular old rectangle, and then maybe this one says like...
I like that you called it a pill button. Is that like professional speak for that shape?
I think so. I think it's like web developer speak for that, because this is like, you know, every button you see on a website or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone said it to me once and I said, I like that. That's gonna happen. So I kept it. If not, it does sound kind of weird, like out of context, I feel like, but that's okay. Okay, round, and then let's bring that orange shape. I think that could be too not contrasting enough. Let's do the yellow then. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna merge those guys with our Pathfinder.
Oh my gosh, these colors are giving me Barbie vibes.
I miss when Barbie was like the moment. The movie, sorry, she still is the moment, obviously.
Yes, she's always been the moment, but I know what you mean. There was
Barbie Summer was
specific...
like Barbie Summer.
I saw a car, I think you'll really appreciate this, that had a bumper sticker on it the other day. And in the Barbie font with like that classic Barbie
Swashy,
beat,
yeah.
it just said, baddie.
Wait, that's so funny. Jess, I don't know if you know Jess Goldsmith. She streams with us a lot. I think it was, you know what, it may not be Jess. Jess, I love you. I don't know if I can give you credit for this though. Someone has a shirt that is in the Barbie typeface that says Bezier. Instead of that, sorry, a Bezier is also like a little handle in Illustrator, and it was the Barbie font, and I was like, I love that. Okay, I had it in there, but then I added the stroke and, or this outline shape to it, and I was like, you know what, it needs to live on its own. So I'm gonna do something else with the pillbox itself. I think I'm gonna do, I want like a repeating in it maybe, or, let's just do like thanks. Maybe we'll make this smaller. Just a tiny bubble then. And then maybe...
A micro pill.
Yeah, a little dose. Why is this not what I want it to be though? Maybe, you know what it needs? New Kansas.
Ooh.
You know? Yeah, that's cuter.
You're like new bestie of the day.
Yeah, New Kansas. I've been on the New Kansas train for a while, and then I forgot about it, and then Mickt used it, and I said, oh my gosh, how did I ever forget about her? She's perfect. Okay, this is cute. I like this colorway, and I might do another object offset path on this one. I'm gonna do like 3 pixels. Yeah. All right, and maybe this one gets a path too.
It's so fun to watch you work. I feel like I don't know
click,
if
click, click, click.
yeah, no one can like see Emily's hands, but they're like it just is moving a mile a minute.
How many arms do I have right now? You'll never know. Okay, this is looking fun. I want it to have like a solid background, so I think I'm just gonna drag a rectangle out here, and I'm gonna do maybe the bright yellow. Should we be bold?
Let's be bold. Also, this really feels like a physical sticker pack.
Right?
This is so fun.
Oh, I'm so glad. Okay. I'm gonna make sure that it still delivers as we go forward here.
Because even on those original sticker packs, like they never would come in perfectly straight and like in a row. Like they're always kind of vibing and doing their own thing.
Just, you know, just living their life.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing that I have 2 yellows now, so my life got crazy. Should we do a gradient? That's gonna be so insane.
Ooh.
I think we're gonna do a gradient. Why not?
I can never say no to more color.
Chat, if I make the ugliest thing right now, I'm sorry, but we're still here learning skills, so it's okay. Okay, I'm just gonna manually assign my gradient this way, with a lot of clicking, and...
Oh, that's so pretty.
It's fun, huh? Okay.
I like it with the little hint of yellow, because then it ties back into the flower.
Yeah, right? I am losing some contrast, so maybe we're gonna have to make sure, like, if you are mostly, like the pink, you're gonna have to be on the other side, the warmer side, to make sure that it's, like, visible, you see what I'm saying? Otherwise, if it's over here, it's less contrast, but over here, we have more contrast.
Yeah, it feels so different.
Yeah, okay. How am I doing on time? Oof. We're losing the time. Okay, I'm gonna do some other fun little tricks here. So I'm gonna make, another gradient. Oh, I forgot my thank you. How could I forget her? She's perfect. Okay, I'm gonna make these as if, arrange, bring to front, as if we just got a 4x6 and we were just stickering this, like decorating it as you would if you were like 8 or 5 or something. Instead of making it look like an actual sticker pack, like as if we just stuck the stickers on there. So I'm gonna do some like overlapping and things like that to make it have a little more interaction, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I'm gonna make this, we don't have any bright orange, I'm gonna break this. Oh, my little pill, come back. See, you have to go on the warm side. Oh, dang it. Pill, stay small. Okay, I'm gonna use the scissor tool here under the eraser tool. I'm gonna cut this, delete this, and then I'm gonna turn this to an outline, or stroke only, and then I'm gonna just bump this up to get a really fun, like rainbow shape. I'm gonna keep that for a second, but I'm gonna expand this. I'm not gonna highlight that. Expand appearance, okay. And then I'm gonna use my type on a path for this one. So I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna do type on a path, and I'm gonna say, you made my day. And I ran off the board right here. If you saw in our last stream, we also caught another rogue type box going too short. So I'm just gonna drag this over to make sure that's in the middle of this. You can also play with this and align it to different sides, but I'm gonna do it in the middle for now. And then the all caps is kind of a lot. So I'm gonna just do this casual. Like I don't wanna be like, you made my day.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, you kind of maybe a little bit in a cool way,
right.
but I'm so cool and you still made my day.
You get it. You definitely get it. You made my day, but you're being cool about it. Okay. And then I always do type on a path. I always center my type on the path. I don't know if that's actually best practice, but if I don't do it, something doesn't feel right. So I always do it that way.
It's best practice for you.
Yeah, it's my practice, my daily practice. Okay,
It's also so cool to see that you created this shape from something that didn't register as that shape at all. And
right?
It's interesting to see, like how you're sort of looking ahead.
Wow, yeah, I think it's cool, especially, so you're a photographer, right, and you live in photography land, and I think it's cool to see other disciplines go about things that you're like, oh, I had no idea that's how we were getting there, you know?
Yeah, you can anticipate something, you see it,
right.
You see it before it's there.
Yeah, working with another designer, I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm guessing I know where this is going, you know, but I think it's really cool. Okay, I think that's cute. You made my day. This gradient may be steering us in the wrong direction. We'll see. It is making my life a little harder. I'll keep it over here, but let's see maybe if like, that's gonna be a little bit easier to work with, so I might do that for the time being to be able to move some things around a little bit easier. And then this shape, because it is still editable, is changing its roundness, so I'm gonna try and bring that in to keep that the same.
These little changes make such a big difference.
I know, it's the small details that really get you sometimes. You gotta make sure that, or you're looking at something like, why is something off? You're like, oh. Okay, group, thanks. Cute. Dare we add another outline?
Dare
Maybe we do. Path, offset path. So you're gonna be streaming next. What are you gonna be streaming?
So I don't live in the land of shapes and font, even though I wish I did, because this is so fun and colorful and beautiful, and also it's really incredible to see like something that feels so physical be created digitally so quickly. I mean, like, you're doing such a great job.
Thanks.
We will be working on editing portraits of some really wonderful women, some of which you may already know from previous streams.
Who could it be?
Dropping a hint about people that like to be creative on the weekend. Any ideas?
You know, is it like creative weekend or weekend creative? It is weekend creative.
we for those of you that know Arabella and Ellie, we will take a look at just a couple of photos of those magical humans.
They're the best.
Yeah, bring them to life.
Do they know that you're working on them?
You know, there's that thing in photography where like you own the rights to all of your photos,
sure,
and you can do whatever you want. And then last night I was like, wait, we're friends. I should do the right thing and just check in. And I wrote them and had this moment of fear.
Like, please, 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 please.
Well, part of me wondered if they were going to be like, actually,
No.
but no, they're so great and so supportive and
They're the best.
so wonderful.
It's funny because I also work with Adobe Live, and I've been making the like thumbnails for the in-studio graphics, and so I had your photos, and like I saw your name in like the file title of their photos, and then I like put two and two together. I was like, oh, you took their headshots, because like I have all their headshots on file. I just thought it was so funny. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a really awesome stream. I'm excited to see your workflow, because obviously I've seen your work in the end product, but I haven't seen your actual workflow, so I'm very excited.
Well, the beauty of my workflow is that it is very uncomplicated, and I think that
I love
sometimes
that.
we forget when we are working on any kind of post-production that you actually just need to do a couple really simple things to up-level your images, and
So true.
it makes a world of difference. Oh
I
my
love
gosh,
that.
this is so cute. It's like a little movie
Wow.
ticket.
Yeah, or like a little like price tag one.
I love it.
It's so fun. Also, you are going to be involved in our weekly creative challenges. Is that right? Upcoming in
Yes.
March? No, wait, this is March.
April.
April.
Yeah, we're going to be completely focused on Photoshop, which is always a wonderful exercise. I'm sure those of you that use Adobe for your creative workflow have had the experience of recognizing, we were talking about this, that like you inherently use
So many.
so many different programs.
Yeah.
And so to stay in one is going to be a really fun exercise. So I'm excited for you all to join me on Tuesdays at 12:30 Pacific.
I'm glad you remembered the time. I'm like trying to think in my mind. I'm like, I can't pull up the schedule in my mind. But yeah, so everyone can tune in every Tuesday then to see and learn from you of like what tips and tricks you have for Photoshop, or just like new workflows and things like that. I'm really excited.
Yeah, they'll be short little 30-minute segments where
Yep.
you'll have a starter file. You can follow along. I'm definitely someone that learns by doing and physically doing it in the moment, or it's like in one ear and out the other. So hopefully,
Same.
yeah, hopefully this is helpful for other people too.
That's gonna be awesome. Okay, you did that. I'm gonna do that. I think that's funny. This will be what I'll send to you after you finish Illustrator. Like, you did that. Look at it, how cute this typeface is. I'm
And it makes
obsessed.
such a big difference when you have them all in a different line. I really like that.
Some type stacking there. Okay. How am I doing on time? I got what, like 15 minutes left? Is that?
Yeah.
Am I doing math? I can't. There's only so many things I can do at one time.
You're mathing and creating.
That is the craziest. And looking at a schedule, insane. Or a calendar. How do we do it all? Okay. I'm gonna merge this together. Which I know we just did like a soft push, but if you are watching the live stream, you will be in this seat in the next hour editing portraits, and then after that, Mickt will be back and we'll be finishing the typographic portraits. Oh yeah, there's the slide. I will narrate for you. Mickt will be back and doing the final part of the typographic poster. So we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you've been tuning in, but definitely stick around. Okay, let's do 5 pixels. So on this show, all I did was a lot of offset path.
You know, sometimes that's like what it's about though, right? Like when you're creating something, it is in many ways about doing something repeatedly.
Yeah.
I kind of like it though, because then you find ways to do something a little bit faster, a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah, and even just seeing how people like build shapes and do different workflows, I think is really helpful. Oh, not the merge. I don't know, I kind of wanted a moon in here. I know it doesn't really make sense, but it just feels right.
Oh, we got a sweet comment in the chat saying
Aw.
that this is a refreshing stream. We're so happy.
That's so sweet, thank you.
Ladies,
Did someone say
having
Lisa
fun.
Frank Core? I'm screaming. That's so funny.
Oh my gosh, that would actually be a really fun stream if it was like all Lisa Frank inspired.
I would love that. Lisa's on another level though. The amount of color, I don't know if I could ever compete.
I used to have this little like Lisa Frank diary that
Yes.
would close with a magnet, and when I was trying to keep it super secret, this is gonna sound so crazy.
I'm so ready.
I would take a single piece of my hair, like a tiny piece, and I would
Wrap
put
it.
it in between the magnet and the opening
To know.
so that I could see if someone had opened it. This is really giving you a sense of what kind of child I was.
So you're a spy is what I'm hearing. Like you were ready.
Oh, I like had my own alphabet, like
Oh my
very
gosh.
imaginative kid.
I love it. I mean, I feel like all creatives, you know, at some point you look back to your childhood and you're like, okay, so the signs were there.
Yeah, read
like we
total
knew.
weirdo.
Yeah, my mom sometimes she'll be like, we had no idea you were creative. And then I think back to like the crazy things I would do. Not, you know, like, and you're just like, obviously, like, yeah, I was. Okay, gonna kind of just like center all these together because we are coming down to the wire here.
Oh, yeah, I know. Please do a Lisa Frank episode for all of us millennials. I know we desperately
need that.
For all the millennial Lisa lovers.
Okay, I need one more thing. Okay, we'll do merci. That was the worst French I could have said. I'm so sorry.
Merci.
Merci. Okay, Venice is the one I'm using. I'm so sorry.
We'll also do another episode on bad pronunciation.
Yeah, well, I will be teaching you French. I hope you tune in. I know. So my name is very French. I am obviously not very French in my language use here, but so my name, Emily Poulin, is very French. So when I meet someone who does speak French, they always say it to me, and I'm like, yes, that is me, but I can't ever say it back to you. You said you were, wait, is your last name Italian?
Yeah. My last name is Basile, which is
do you speak Italian?
I do.
Oh, amazing. Wait, do you speak French then?
I wish.
Okay.
No, I speak Italian fluently, and so Spanish is conversational and comes a little bit smoother,
Sure.
and I feel like I can get by with those two in English, but oh my gosh, I wish I spoke French. French is like...
It's hard for
the
sure.
sounds are just like...
Different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this is cute. I like
Oh my
this.
gosh, Emily, I love it.
Yay! All right, so we have a little bit of time left, which is great. So I am going to make a back of this postcard really quickly. Whoops. Let me just actually make another 4x6 for us here.
This is so fun. The moon also really completes like that 90s vibe.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
It gives like neon a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna bring a few of these over, and this is gonna be like the back of the postcard, and I'm just gonna kind of like drop these around the edges to make it cohesive and just give the back a little love, you know.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and so this is gonna be, I might just give a border for no reason. I don't know. Let's see. I might do like this and then center it. Oh, perfect. What if it was on this artboard? Sometimes you gotta highlight it to just remind it. There's no need for this. We're not gonna do that. Okay, I'm gonna save this now as a PDF. So I'm gonna save the front, and I'm gonna say, thank you front, and I'm just gonna do one PDF. I think you actually probably could upload this as both, but I'm gonna just do it this way. So, or upload 2 pages at a time, but I'm gonna upload it, actually, you know, I think it probably is right to do it 2 at a time. So let me upload front and back at the same time. Did I check the box? Shoot. We'll find out.
I ask myself that all the time. Did I check the
Did
box?
I do that? No, I didn't. Okay, so I exported just the front again. Hold on, guys. We're gonna get there. PDF, and I need to change all, and I'm just gonna replace that one. So all means we're gonna get both pages. Yes, replace it. I'm confident. And now we are gonna jump over to Express. So this is the Express homepage, and I'm going to start from my content, and I'm gonna come to here, and I'm gonna choose Thank You Front, which was just the file. So Express is gonna upload this for us now and hopefully bring it in at the correct sizing. Oh, it's gonna ask me what page. I love that. And hopefully it's bringing in both. Fabulous, amazing. Look how cute. Okay, awesome. And now I'm gonna drop a little text box in here for us. So I'm gonna do text, and I'm gonna, hello, add your text. Okay, great. Did I do these stickers in a way that's like not helpful? That's okay, I can move them, which is cool. So Express uploaded the PDF in a way that is still editable, which is really helpful because that way I can look at it here and say, you know what, actually I think these are gonna not be in an easy workable space. So maybe we just bring all of them. Maybe I bring this one down here.
Oh, it's cool that you're still making changes to this within Express.
Which is cool because I could have brought in like the Illustrator file and it would have brought it in a different way, but the PDF I think is a really helpful way for what we're looking at now. So I'm gonna group these and move this around. I'm gonna group this one as well. And that looks good. Okay, so I'm gonna put this here and then I'm gonna assign it to New Kansas because we can. I think New Kansas is like, I'm not gonna do Swash, just this one. I'm gonna do New Kansas regular. And I'm gonna put in here just like, we're so grateful, your business, I always spell that word wrong, right? Means.
I literally say busyness.
Right, me too. So much to me.
Wednesday.
February.
brewery.
Chat, what do you misspell most often? Tell us. Okay, thank you for all that you do. Ooh, perfect. Ooh, do. And I'm gonna set this in the center and kind of put it here. And I think this would just be a really cute card that you can send to, you know, your local small business or someone that you work with, or if you are a client of somebody and you're like, hey, I really appreciate your photography work and I want to send this to you. Now here's our little front, and I think I can lock all of this, which would be cool. Lock. So now this way when I share this, y'all can't move stickers around. But I'm also gonna do that on the back, which maybe I should let you, but it's my design, so I'm gonna lock it, I'm sorry. Okay, lock it here, and then I'm gonna go share, and I'm going to say, anyone with the link, and then I'm gonna copy the link. And then actually, sorry, I'm gonna make this a template. Thank you, and we're just gonna do create public link template and create template link. Amazing.
Sean says their own name.
Oh, that's tough. Which part of the name, Sean? Okay, it's really thinking about it. So I'm gonna actually jump over to Firefly, and I'm gonna show you a little cool thing that you can do in Firefly with text to image. So there's a bunch of different models in Firefly, text to video, yes, or photo to video and things like that. But I'm gonna do text to image based, and I'm gonna say a blank 4x6 6x4 probably is the right way. For horizontal, another word that's hard to spell sometimes, card, and let's do like in a bakery setting on the counter. And I'm going to mock this up as if I was like showing this to someone in a bakery. Okay, so it's gonna do vertical, but I don't really want that. Let's see. So I'm gonna do landscape. Okay. So it got the sizing right, it got the setting right, but let's see.
Wow, it's wild that it even sort of has like, am I seeing that correctly? That it's like the reflection on the table?
Firefly is so cool like that. Okay, and I wanna add, so okay, it definitely got my 4x6 horizontal. It heard me. I love that. And then I'm gonna say with cupcakes. I don't know why I chose like a bread bakery. I guess I wasn't very clear. I wanted like a sweets bakery, I guess. More sugar, please.
More sugar, okay. More color, more pink.
Yeah, okay, with pink. More frosting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay, that's exactly what we want.
Frosting or bust.
So much frosting. Okay, so what's really cool is that there's a new little button here, or new-ish, I guess, that says open in Photoshop Web. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Right? So cool. Okay, my thank you thing is working here. I love that. And I will share this with you guys in a minute so you can redo that. Okay, so I'm gonna bring in my, I'm gonna quick select here, and I'm gonna make a new layer mask. Oop, not there. Oh, actually, let me bring in my object first. Deselect. Okay, so I also exported the front of my PDF, so I'm just gonna drag and drop that in here. Oh, it's not gonna let me. I'm gonna get a JPEG version. Hold on. Okay, file, export, and I'm just gonna do the front, JPEG, and range, I just want the first slide, so let's do that. That looks great. And I just kind of want to mock this up in the setting itself, right? So here we are, and I can use my typical scaling tools like I would in Photoshop or Illustrator. And I'm gonna bring this here. And it's not gonna be exactly right, but it's gonna be close enough that we can get the idea of like what we're seeing here. So I'm wondering if it's gonna cut off too much, but let me place the file, and then I wanna rotate it, but it doesn't wanna give me my rotate handle. Please, I saw it. Did you saw it too, right?
I saw it, and then I looked away, so it also went away.
Okay, I'm just gonna distort it. You gotta keep an eye on it. Okay, I'm gonna distort it then by using this transform tool here, and I'm just gonna do it this way and kind of overlay it. So it's not the perfect sizing for it, but say I was like pitching this to a client and I was like, here's how it would look like when we deliver it, and like envision it in the space. I think this is a really helpful tool to show you how to do that, and kind of give you a really fast workflow instead of, you know, downloading it and bringing it into Photoshop. The Firefly to Photoshop Web is just like a really fast feature to be able to do that. If I want to multiply it to kind of put it more in the setting, because there was some lighting that went through, I think that can be really helpful. And we could do this again really quickly. Like, let's do, what's another like business we want to appreciate?
What about?
Not to put you on the spot. I have another idea if you're drawing a blank here.
What about like a floral shop?
I was thinking like a plant shop. Look at us go. Okay, in a floral shop with lots of flowers that are pink because we're doing pink today in Barbie Land. Okay. The way I phrased it, that are pink. I could have just said pink flowers, but you know, I said, ooh. Okay, what's your favorite?
Oh my gosh, there's so many good options. Maybe I kind of like the little bit of like overlap.
I like that too. Okay. This 4x6 format looks a little sus. Like it doesn't look 100% 4x6, which, you know, Firefly doesn't have a measuring tape in here, so it's okay. This one has, let's try this one. I think this one has enough overlap that it's gonna like give us something to work with here. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna grab my JPEG, just drag and drop, which is super helpful. Scale this down, and then place it by pressing enter. And then I'm gonna do transform, and I'm gonna come to distort, and I'm just gonna kind of drag this.
We love to drag it to perfection.
Yeah, exactly. We're giving drag it to perfection.
Oh my gosh, Emily, this is looking so great.
Thanks, it's really cute. I feel like it just brings so much more to it to see it like mocked up in a space. So I was gonna multiply it just to see like it in with the correct lighting. But I'm also gonna mask it because I'm seeing like this overlap and we wanna show that more clearly. So I'm going to get out of direct select and I'm gonna click apply layer mask. And then I'm just gonna pinch to zoom and zoom in a little closer here, and I'm gonna press B to get my brush tool. The hotkeys do work in Photoshop Web, because if they didn't, I don't know what we would do. So I am gonna have black, or sorry, this is the one that's selected. Hello, is it working? It is working, but it's really light. That's strange. Oh, maybe because it's pink? Oh, it's just because it's pink, it doesn't look like it's working. So if you have your brush tool and you have the black color selected, it hides, right? Me explaining it to you like you don't live in Photoshop every day. I'm going to just paint around this like this, and then I'm also going to come in here and maybe paint out some of this as well. When you're watching me do this, is there like a different way that you would do this in your workflow?
No, it's so funny. I mean, it just, the beauty of working with Adobe and all of its ecosystem of programs is that we can all do the exact same thing 100,000 different ways, and they're all right, and they are all functional, and it really just caters to your own workflow. This is looking so fantastic.
Isn't that fun?
I really like the overlap of the flower. It feels more realistic. You can really picture it in the space, and I mean, Owen said that it would have taken them all afternoon, and I feel like you just did it in 2 seconds.
Which is so cool,
Sean's
right?
point, yeah, so speedy.
Yeah, it's so great when the programs all work together and like sync like this, and I think there's just a lot of improvement and just like variability that we're seeing in programs, which is really awesome. So now we took that and mocked it up in Photoshop so quickly, and so in our final moments here, let me give you like a little recap of what we worked on. It's so cute.
And then really quick, we have a question from Sean.
Okay, Sean.
Will X switch foreground color and background color on web?
That's a great question. That's a hotkey I don't use. So let me see. I'm in the brush tool, I press X. Yes, it does. Look at that. Which is a way faster way to be masking, and I don't know why I always forget it. I never do it. Do you use X?
Nope. Thanks, Sean.
Every time I see someone do it, I'm like, oh yeah, why didn't I do that? It's so, yeah, crazy.
Sean spelled SHAWN.
I'm glad that we saw it with the W. Otherwise, I would have misspelled it, Sean. I'm sorry. Okay, so I created some really fun stickers, all based in Illustrator that tested my language knowledge, but a little front and back here. And then I brought that, or I exported that as a PDF, and then I brought that PDF into Express, which is right here. And then I made it into a public template so that you guys are going to be able to remix this. And then I will share that in a second here. And then we jumped over into Firefly and we generated some images so that we could see this mocked up in a space by using the text to image model. And then with the awesome ecosystem that is Adobe, I just opened it in Photoshop Web and was able to edit it and kind of put it in its place here. So we did a floral shop, which is so cute. I guess we were in a pink mood looking at it now. And we also did a little bakery setting, which was really fun and just a really fast workflow. So super exciting to see all that. So I'm going to copy this template then, and I'm going to come back to express.adobe.com, and I'm going to generate a QR code for you here by clicking generate QR, and I'm going to paste that for you here. And now this link should take you, I'm like inspecting it to make sure, yes, I think this looks right. So this should take you then to that template so that you could just download it and you can remix that template and send it to your favorite business. So you should be able to come to the back here where I have this and double click on the text, and then you should be able to remix it, which is really exciting. So I don't know, who are you gonna send this to? Are you gonna send this to somebody?
I mean, I kind of just want to send this to my mom.
I love that. Yeah, honestly, it's also Women's Appreciation Month, or not Women's Appreciation Month, Women's History Month, but in other words, Appreciation Month, I think. So
Absolutely.
definitely send this to anybody in your life, small business or women-owned small businesses especially. I think it could be really awesome. But thank you so much for joining this stream. You are gonna be in this chair in mere moments, editing really wonderful photos. So we're really excited to see all of that.
Yeah, thank you all so much for joining. And Emily, congrats. Love the sticker pack.
Thanks, I had a lot of fun.
Thank
All
you.
right, bye.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Adobe Live. This time I'm your host, Mickt Flior, a designer and illustrator, and this time I'm here with amazing photographer Anna-Alexia. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see what you're going to be doing because it seems you're going to be working with Photoshop, Lightroom, and Firefly to do photo edits, portrait edits.
Yeah, so as they really sweetly introduced me, my name is Anna-Alexia Basile. I am a San Francisco-based fashion, portrait, and commercial photographer, and today we're going to sort of be moving through my workflow in portrait editing. We will start off in Lightroom, but also use a lot of really fantastic AI masking tools powered by Firefly.
I'm really curious about that. I want to see how that's going to come into play.
And then move into Photoshop for sort of like our final little, zhuzhing of the photos to really take it to that next level.
All right, so let's get started. I'm really excited. Let's just right into it.
Fantastic. So we are going to start off our workflow in Lightroom today, and I chose images of people that I really admire and really wanted to celebrate today. There may be some familiar faces in here. Does anyone recognize these cuties that you may or may not have seen before? These are our favorite Weekend Creative babes.
That's amazing.
We also have a really talented artist named Anushka, whose images I'll be editing today. And then I actually pulled out an image from a fashion shoot that I did a couple years ago for a designer, Lindsay Robinson, because I felt like this image would just do a really fantastic job of sort of showcasing some of our AI masking features.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see you chose beautiful images of women, which is right in tune with our theme today, which is Women's Month. So let's see what you're going to do now.
Yeah. And also, last but certainly not least, Dr. Akil Kadeh, who does many things, she's an author, runs a development and consulting firm. I mean, truly, we just have such an incredible group of women to celebrate today. So I am going to start off with someone that we know and love. We have Ellie here, and usually, whenever I start off with my post-production for editing portraits, I am first and foremost doing all of my color corrections. So typically, I like to say when people are getting their hair done, they cut and color it. They don't color it and then cut it.
Yes.
So usually, if there's any kind of I don't know, say that this was cropped really crazy or at a weird angle, I would actually go in and make my crop adjustments first. It just sort of helps me see a little bit more clearly where I'm working within an image.
Like you're selecting the frame that you want to keep, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it just really gives you a clearer idea of what really matters within the image. Because sometimes you spend all of this time obsessing over some detail that's in the corner, and then when you go to straighten your image, it's actually completely cropped out and removed.
That's true. So you start with the big picture stuff, and then you work towards smaller stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. That's a great thing to keep in mind.
Exactly. So one thing everyone should know about me is that I'm a Virgo. So there are but I'm a weird cuspy Virgo. So there's some stuff that I'm very particular about, and then other stuff where I'm very sloppy. For example, this thing right here, I'm let's just take that out a little bit. We're still keeping our proportions, and then, maybe we want to keep Ellie centered. So we're just gonna kind of start in here. So the very first thing, like I said, that I like to do is to just sort of get everything feeling really straight, and then I also want to be able to see what I'm working with. So I'm going to start off with just brightening the image a little bit here, bumping up the exposure. I kind of like to decrease the highlights a little bit so that this doesn't feel super blown out, but I'm kind of ignoring this right now because I really just want to focus on her face. And the lighting
That's
on
gonna be
the
the
face.
focus. Okay.
Exactly. Another thing that I really like to keep in mind is to not have my shadows be super dark. While I like having a little bit of contrast, I also like to be able to see detail within the shadows. So I typically bring the shadows out a little bit. So, you know, once I feel like I'm in a good place here, a lot of the time, if I know that I'm going to be editing a lot of images that were shot in the same place with similar lighting, what I might do is create a preset. So in order to create a preset, once you feel like you are, you know, have everything in a really good place, you literally just go up here, you click this plus button, create preset, and copy whatever it is that you want your preset to remember. I specifically always like to have like lens correction on, our basic color correction, you know, all the things, and then you can rename it up here to whatever you want, and then you would create it.
So these are based on the edits you already did to this photo, right?
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so obviously, like if I was going to edit this photo followed by, you know, say this photo that is photographed not indoors but outdoors, you know, totally different lighting conditions, I wouldn't be using the same preset. But because I know that I'm sort of going to be moving through, you know, really similar images shot in the same space. I mean, you can see in this reflection of Arabella that Ellie is next to this mantle behind her. So what I'm actually gonna do is, let's actually just start from when we cropped in, and then I'm going to go to the preset that I previously created for Ellie, which is this one.
Yes.
And so in here, you know, what I also did was I sort of played around with like color temperature too. Now that I'm looking at this image and I've used the preset, it just gives me a really fantastic starting point, which I really appreciate. And what I like about this is that now we don't have to sort of, you know, start from scratch with every single
photo.
image.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can just use this as our base and then make like little tweaks. So when I look at this photo, I think it's reading a little bit on the cooler side.
Yes.
So I might just increase the temperature a little bit. We want her to feel like really warm, really vibrant. And then if there are certain areas that where say I don't want to make an overall adjustment by bringing out the shadows, like say I want to see like a little bit more detail kind of like in her pants and around the books, I would go up here to our masking tool, and we just have so many fantastic, really helpful masking features on Lightroom. For this one, I'm just going to use the brush tool. The brush tool essentially allows you to decide what it is that you want to do and literally paint it onto your image. So if I want to bring out the shadows in here, what I might do is just bump up the shadows a little bit, and then if I want to,
awesome.
Yeah, and if I want to increase or decrease my brush size, I can use the brackets. So the one on the right makes it a lot bigger, the one on the left makes it smaller. So once I feel like it's in a good place, I can come in here and just paint. And this is a really subtle adjustment here. I'm gonna be crazy so that you can see the difference, but I've literally just painted that in here.
And you can probably adjust how harsh or how like blurry the edges of that brush is, right?
Yes. So you can do that over here with feathering, flow, density, size. I mean, it's fantastic. It's really cool because what I have learned recently is that I spend a lot of time doing this stuff in Lightroom, but you can actually do this in Photoshop too using Adobe Camera Raw.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So once I feel like this is in a good place, it's still feeling natural, I just wanted to see a little bit more detail here, I can then take a look at other things that are going on in the image. So say that I was looking at this and, you know, this doesn't really bother me that much that it's blown out. I feel like Ellie is really the focus here. But if you wanted to do something about that, you could add a linear gradient mask, and you just drag that in. It's gonna be heavier along the side that it starts from and just sort of like gradually taper off. And here, we can just bring in the highlights a little bit. You can also decrease the exposure some if that is like really driving you crazy.
This is awesome.
But in general, I think that she is looking really great. I might go in and maybe bump my exposure up a tiny bit once I've exited my masking, just because I don't know. I kind of like that overexposed look a little bit. And Ellie is just this like
me too.
bright, vibrant person. And so those are just basic color corrections for Ellie's photo. So
And you can see that already. It's very different, right? I noticed, like, is there a way to see the before and after what you did here?
absolutely. So we have before, after.
Wow. It just already looks like a magazine cover just by changing the lighting.
I
It's
mean,
incredible.
she's also like a perfect, beautiful angel. And speaking of perfect, beautiful angels, here's another one.
Yeah. What would you do that? I would imagine maybe you would, adjust the floor, I'm guessing, since I already kind of know what you're going for.
Yeah, so
This one's a beautiful framing. by the
thank
way.
you. I mean, we were working in a really stunning house when we shot these images. If anyone is in San Francisco and is looking for a really beautiful location, definitely message either me or Weekend Creative, and we'll send you the link to this incredible, incredible spot. It was
That's
like
awesome.
impossible to take a bad photo in here. You can see it's like kind of perfect because not only is the space equipped with these like really special, like unique details like this cool mirror, like the mantle, but there's also space in the place too. I mean, like this really cool chair, but there's also room for everything to breathe. And this decision to leave these V-flats and boards were already there at the location. It doubles as a photo studio, but I kind of liked leaving it in for the purpose of this image because Arabella is also a photographer, and these are tools of our trade. And it was
makes
kind of
sense, right? It gives it more. It tells a story of who she is exactly, right, as a professional.
Exactly. And
Interesting.
it's nice when you get to see the tools of someone's trade, right? Like,
Yes,
and
I would
not-
be interested in seeing that in a portrait, yes. It makes it more
Yeah.
unique.
And especially when there's something that are so beautiful. And even if something isn't super interesting, you can find a way of like stacking a bunch of like, if someone is working with bolts, like you could put 1,000 bolts together and show off the texture and the reflection, and just finding ways of making everything interesting. And so in here, we, are working with really similar lighting conditions. Arabella is Ellie's creative partner, and I am gonna go in here, and I really liked the preset that I created for Ellie, and so I'm just gonna come back in here and use it again. So as you can see in here, we're getting kind of like a crazy effect where it's a little bit too bright.
Yes.
So
Looks
I might
cold a little bit.
Exactly. So we really don't want to lose the information in Arabella's skin tone or really in the rest of the space. But even if I want to start with that preset that I know that I like, I can reset my exposure by double clicking this little thing twice. And then I can go in and make small adjustments. So in here, I definitely want to bring out the shadows some. And then, something to notice too is that I want to be able to accurately represent Arabella's skin tone, right? Like we're gonna warm it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's awesome that you mentioned that because it's something that I feel like it's not talked about enough, and only certain part of the population tries to bring attention to it. So it's really cool that you mentioned that, making skin tones real, not making them, washed out, or a preset's not gonna work for everybody, right? It has different skin tones. So it's really cool that you're mentioning that.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's something that as photographers, you inherently know, but sometimes you get so caught up in your editing process and in wanting to, make the scene bright or something that it's easy to like make a mistake. And I think it's happened to a lot of us. But you're right, like it is something really important to keep in mind because at the end of the day, when we're shooting a portrait, we want to accurately represent someone.
The person, yes.
And also like show the best version of them, hopefully, or a version that like they feel really excited about. So in here, one thing that I immediately notice is that Arabella has absolutely incredible hair, and I really, really, really want to highlight a little bit more of like the texture of her hair. So what I'm gonna do is go back to my masking tools.
Would you use the brush tool or do you use something different?
So right now we're going to create a new mask, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to select people. Select people is one of my favorite things on earth. When this update came out on Lightroom, it absolutely changed the game. Honestly, all of these AI masking features that are powered by Firefly are incredible.
So you don't need to do anything manually anymore?
I mean, it's just a lot. It's not, of course, as we know, AI is never perfect, but we're able to have a starting point.
Probably could sometime, because then you just need to adjust a few parts of it, probably.
Exactly.
Instead of doing everything. Okay, that's what I meant.
Yes.
Yeah, AI making life easier by doing the boring parts that we don't want to do, and then helping us work faster.
That's such an excellent point, and I love that you bring that up, because I think a lot of the time when we are thinking about how we use AI, I personally feel really good about using Adobe products because I appreciate that the AI is ethically trained, that licensing fees are going to the people where the AI system is learning from, and so I agree with you. I think that it really does save us a lot of time. I feel really good about using Firefly powered tools on Adobe, and hopefully you do too. So now that we've gotten here, we have our people. So I said that it's not perfect 100% of the time, but because
it's really good.
When I say it's going to be perfect, it's not perfect. But it honestly
really
is really perfect, right? I mean, if we
let us see the details.
Zoom in here, I mean, even down to like the
little
hair
wave of the hair.
It's incredible.
It is.
It's really...
I'm curious to see what you would do with my hair. This is like really good.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had taken a photo of you before we started so that we could have done it, because you actually have the perfect hair for this, because you have like sort of like lighter highlights at the bottom, so much like movement and volume and texture.
Yeah, next time we should do that. I definitely want to have a photo edited by you.
So we're gonna go in and we're gonna select Arabella. So now we have entire person checked, but you'll notice that on the right, we have all of these other features. So I'm just gonna highlight over them, but we have facial skin, body skin, which is basically any skin other than the facial skin.
Wow.
Eyebrows, we all know what they are. Eye sclera. Did anyone else know what eye sclera was Lightroom coming out with this edit? Sorry, Arabella, not trying to make you look like a crazy person. Eye sclera, it's like the white part in your eyes. And then naturally we have the iris and the pupil, the lips, the hair, the clothes.
This is so impressive. I have no words. I did not know you would be able to edit like detail by detail separately, so that, if just one thing needs a different color, different lighting, you can do that within that automation that you did using the AI. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. And so previously, if we were like, I'm gonna want to use an AI mask to go over Arabella's hair, if I wanted to do that with a brush tool, I would have to like brush it in, kind of, and then I'd get to like these hair and would be like, oh no, like what am I gonna do? I'd like zoom in really close. It wouldn't really be perfect. It would take me forever. Like, what on earth do you do with like these things? I mean, it would be...
This is kind of how I learned in school around 10 years ago. Yeah, that's absolutely how I learned it.
Yeah, it would be really, really difficult. So instead of doing that, what I'm actually going to do is go in, and as we looked earlier, I'm going to create a new mask. I'm going to select people. We know that we want to work with Arabella. If you had multiple people in the image, there would be like other little kind of like headshots of people in circles around here so that you can be really specific. The technology is fantastic. And then for the purpose of this photo, because we're just sort of starting off, I'm going to go in and select hair. So also, I don't know, let's be like fun. Let's do lips too. So you want to make sure that down here you have create two separate masks selected, because otherwise, if you don't, it's going to create one mask for both. And naturally, if we are wanting to make edits to Arabella's hair, probably going to be a little different than the edits we want to make to her lips.
Okay, so this is an interesting level of detail. Yeah, people in the chat are saying, I don't miss all that manual masking. We definitely don't either. This is just great news. You know, I gotta go back and practice with Lightroom. It's been a while.
It's the best. And it's funny too, because I was never someone that was like so attentive to detail and making extensive edits. But now that I have so much more time, I can.
Yeah.
So let's create these 2 separate masks, and then what you can do, and typically I like to do this if I am working with a lot of different masks, where I'll just like rename the mask. So here, oh, actually, you know what? Already says it, person lips, and then I bet this will say hair, person hair, perfect.
So you identify automatically.
Exactly, and that way you're not like, which is which. You can just click on it, and it should also, if you have this selected, show overlay, it will highlight the area that you're working on. Say that like there was a ton of red in this photo, I could change the overlay color by going over here and just selecting a different color, but luckily we're in the clear. So we are going to go and make adjustments to Arabella's hair to start off with. So I'm going to bring up the exposure just a little bit. I'm gonna exaggerate it right now so that you all can see Arabella does not have gray hair, but we really kind of just wanna get a little bit more details in terms of like the strands of her hair so that it doesn't just look like a blob of hair.
Which is usually what happens with hair that's really dark.
Exactly. So I'm gonna bump up the exposure a smidge. I might bring out the shadows a little bit, but again, we really don't want to make her hair look gray. And then
now it looks more
it's a little
brownish.
It's just a little bit more defined.
Yeah,
and then
I'm
gonna bump up the contrast a little bit here because I'm not just trying to overall lighten her hair. I really want to differentiate between, you know, the highlights and the shadows. So that just sort of adds a little bit of like just a little bit more of the natural texture that exists in real life in her hair. And then if we go to her lips, she didn't ask me to do this, but say that maybe like someone was like, oh, I really wanted to be wearing lipstick in my photo, but like I forgot it at home or I forgot to reapply and it just like wasn't as strong. So if we take this off, Arabella's lips are kind of like this like really beautiful, almost like mauve-y, like there's like a like mauve-y brown shade on them. But say that, I don't know, maybe she was like, I wanted something that was like a little bit more coral. We could bump up the magenta over here a little bit just to make it even more pinky. We could also increase the temperature here to sort of like warm up that hue and give her more of like a coral lip. And for me and like my work, my edits are always meant to feel natural. And so like I wouldn't make Arabella's lips green, not only because I'm not her enemy, but because just my general aesthetic is that I want whatever edits that I'm making in my post-production to feel like they could be something that was there in real life. And obviously that's not everyone. Like some people's post-production work is very imaginative and really like takes you to another world.
It's just a different style than what you like to do. And I was looking at your work earlier. It's very warm. It's very friendly and cozy. It's almost as if it's like inviting me to be in that scene. If you haven't looked yet, look at her work on her Instagram or website, you know, just check it out. It's beautiful. And I really enjoy that you're saying this because many times people might view, you know, photo editings as, you know, cheating reality, but here you making it in a way that's very, I would say, ethical and really respectful with the people that you were photographing, but also just, you know, maybe highlighting things that you could see when you were there, but for some reason were not visible once the photo was taken.
Yeah,
right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I kind of like to think about photo editing with the same approach that I have to makeup for myself, which is that when I, you know, like I love makeup, like love wearing a bright lip, like literally every single day. But when I'm wearing makeup, I try to do like just enough that sort of enhances the way that I naturally look a little bit without making me look like an entirely different person. And that's really how I try to approach my photo editing as well. So here, if we take a look at, the before and after with making these AI, adjustments with AI masking powered by Firefly, you can see hair gets a lot darker, lips are like a totally different color, and they're just like subtle things that make
so subtle.
A really big difference long term. So if we want to look at the before and after again, here, I mean, you can just see a big difference. I will say the image like is looking a little bit on like the green side. So I might go in and just like add a smidge of magenta, but otherwise I kind of think that she looks great. I might just check in here, but sometimes the way that I'm holding the camera is just perfect and it's straight and doesn't need to be rotated every once in a while.
That one
rarely.
is really aligned. Yes, it's beautiful. I love how you change it. And sometimes you can only see if you actually toggle the before and after back and forth.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome tool to have.
And so, obviously when we look at Arabella here, she has been blessed with absolutely, wild talent, but also flawless skin. So with this, I honestly don't even think that I would pull this into Photoshop to make any big adjustments because she looks absolutely perfect. But what I would do is I would copy and paste these settings and apply them to everything else, all the other photos of her.
I would do that.
So what I'm gonna do, the shortcut, if you're on a Mac, is that you would Command C, and then again, you get to select what it is that you want to be copying and pasting. The beauty here, so I'm not gonna do mask 1 because that's something old, but I am gonna do mask 2 and 3. Mask 2 and 3 are when we made adjustments to her hair and when we made adjustments to her lips. Now, what's fantastic about this is that when I copy these settings and then say that I want to add them to this image, it's actually going to recognize that Arabella, if there were other people, that Arabella is the specific person that we are trying to copy and paste these settings onto. So It's really smart. It's just a huge time saver here.
So what did you click exactly to apply those presets to the second photo?
So I Command C to copy and then Command V to paste.
Simple as that.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure too that you can also go in and you can probably right click and paste. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like a shortcut girly with things, so I literally just copy and pasted it. And again, maybe there was like a cool reflection that was happening in the space, so you might have to make some small adjustments. But otherwise, for the most part, you can pretty much blaze through your color corrections by copying and pasting once you've like really honed in on what it is that you want to be doing. So here,
so cool.
I'm just gonna center Arabella, make sure we get this like really cool shape in here. And I mean, honestly, she is looking so fantastic. I loved these photos of them so much. We have like another one of Ellie here and just this like really great one of their reflection. But for now, I'm actually gonna jump over to this image here.
We're getting some comments from people. Jeffrey shared, I've not used Lightroom Desktop in a bit, totally ending that today. I agree with you. I am so like flabbergasted. Like this is a game changer. This is an awesome use of AI. Like it knows what you're doing. I am so like, I gotta take photos of myself, and this is not only interesting for people that work with, maybe you're a photographer for an event and you have the same backdrop and you need to apply it to 100 photos, but also if you're a professional, you need to be able to make your own photos or photos of your products or things like that. So this can just speed up your process like this.
Absolutely, and I think that you make a really good point of, you sort of get into a flow with your process, and Adobe has always been all about trying to help us do whatever it is that we're trying to create in an efficient and really effective way. And I'm all about saving time so that you can spend more of it, as you said earlier, focusing on being creative and really leaning into all of the stuff that you love doing most, which for me personally is like not masking individual tiny little hairs.
Yeah, masking can be intimidating, right? Especially for people that are starting. So I think this, like, if you know someone that wants to work with photography but they're intimidated by masking and things like that, just show them this life, please. This is a game changer.
Yeah, and Jeffrey, I'm so glad that you were saying that you're gonna dive into Lightroom now and start using it, because at the end of the day, right, we're all trying to figure out ways of...
It was my first tool. Like, Lightroom and Photoshop were my first tools, and I wasn't even using for design, I was using for portrait.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I switched to design because that's what I was in school for, but you also dabble a little in photography when you're in design, so I'm sure everybody that's watching us is really interested in trying this too.
Yeah, we're like all speaking that visual language.
Yeah, the same visual language. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day too, whether you are someone who is shooting professionally or maybe you are a small business owner and you're like, you know, I'm like saving up our budget to pay a photographer for this like big campaign that we're doing, but in the meantime, I just like really need a quick photo of myself. You can literally take a photo of yourself with your iPhone and then go into Lightroom and make a couple easy adjustments and edit it and have a wonderful final product, and then work with the professional photographer for your bigger projects and, you know, bring all of that stuff to life in a different moment. But Lightroom is such a great tool. I literally could not do my work without it. So we're gonna go into this photo next, and here I want to sort of dive in to these like AI masking features again. So we're gonna do something similar. We're gonna go up here, click on our masking tool. We're going to detect the people, right? We're like looking for a specific person. And really quickly, I just wanna show you all over here. So in this image where there are two people, let's see if it'll detect both in the mirror. Oh my gosh, it did. So here, even in an image where the people are like teeny tiny, and being reflected in a mirror, it still detected the people. So if we look, you know, let's zoom in here a little bit. It perfectly detected Ellie, seamlessly detected Arabella, even with like the overlap of Ellie's hair over Arabella's face. I mean, these are just absolutely fantastic tools. And if we were to make adjustments in here to Ellie and to Arabella, and again, paste them onto something else, it would recognize who the adjustment was meant for. So let's go back to this image here, and we have already detected our person. So we're going to select the person, and then one thing that I notice when I am looking at this image is that I'm really feeling everything, but I'm noticing that just because of the environment that we're in, the person's eye sclera are reading like a little bit on the warm side, and even like the teeth. It didn't actually look like that in real life, and so I just kind of want to bring it back to something that is a little bit more representative of what stuff was looking like at the time. So you can select teeth, and then...
You recognized her teeth from that photo.
Yes.
Wow.
The tiny little sliver of...
Yes, right? 10% of two teeth.
Exactly, as our cats would say, the tooths. And then we're going to go...
Not to say that.
Yeah. And then we'll go down here to eye sclera. So typically what I like to do is make my AI masking features. I'll usually do this after I've color corrected an image, because I try to do overall color adjustments to begin with and then go in and sort of do the fine tuning. But I just wanted to sort of show you here when we go in. So let's zoom in, just so that it didn't look like, you know, I was warming the photo up and then stuff was looking really weird. So obviously we know with color temperature, we're really just trying to find the white balance. So we're trying to show things that are true white as actually true white, you know, not too magenta, not too green, not too warm, not too cool. So in here, what I could do is I could just decrease the temperature here a little bit of the eye sclera. So if we see, you know, they're like really like warm before, but I can cool them down a little bit. And then if I also really want the eyes to pop, I could increase the exposure a little bit. You want to be really, really, really careful when you're working with eye sclera not to make them too bright, too vivid, too white.
Yeah.
Because that's going to look really fake, and it's going to look
scary
like, it's going to look like a bad AI portrait, which
Yes.
like we've all seen them. We know what they look like. You don't want to do that. So, you know, already to me, that feels a lot better. So we can look at the before and the after. Before and after. So
Looks very
really,
natural.
really simple adjustments, right? Like we're not changing the way that this person looks overall. We're just like slightly tweaking the colors so that everything is looking relatively accurate. So same thing with the teeth down here. What we can do is, again, we had like running into a similar thing. We're just gonna like decrease the temperature a little bit, bump up the exposure slightly. We don't want it to be too bright. There also sometimes is a filter in here called teeth whitening. So if you want to make your own adjustments, you can do that, or you can select teeth whitening and it'll do it for you. And then here, you can even choose the amount that you want to apply to it. So if you're like, ooh, great color, slightly like too vibrant with this preset, you can just drag it down a little bit. And as a rule of thumb, I would say, like, you know, with the exception of some presets, I would never apply 100% of it because you don't want people to immediately be like, oh, that's a preset. You want it to register as just something natural that just doesn't immediately draw the eye in. So here, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit and we're just gonna look at the before and after of this image. So here, before, after. Before, after. So really, really simple, small adjustments that just for me as like someone that is paying attention to detail is, you know, honing in on these things, and it already feels more natural to me. So from here, I could then go in and continue to make my overall color adjustments. So I might, you know, increase the temperature a little bit, bump up the contrast, and one thing that I really love to do is make adjustments within HSL. That's like actually one of my favorite things on earth. For those of you that, you know and are familiar with HSL, it's under the color mixer on Lightroom, and it stands for hue, saturation, and lightness, if you're a little bit new to it. So hue means, and what this is essentially allowing us to do is that we're going in and we're working with individual colors at a time. So right now, like I'm really focusing on the green in the background, and say that we want to go in and make some adjustments to green. So with green, hue has to do with what kind of color is it? Is it a very cool green if we drag it to the left? Sorry, a very warm green if we drag it to the left? Or is it a very cool green if we drag the slider to the right?
That's
now,
so interesting.
Yeah.
And when you were sliding to one side and to the other, you can already feel that gives the photo a whole different vibe. Like when you made it a little bit warmer, it was giving me a little bit of vintage vibes.
Exactly.
Something that's a little bit more in the past. Or,
Yes.
I don't know, like warm, like a sepia maybe.
100%. And that is exactly what like sepia and like colors are all meant to do, right? They really evoke a feeling and they sort of help our brains associate a vibe to whatever it is that we're looking at. So hue has to do with what kind of color is it? Is it really warm? Is it really cool? Saturation is exactly what it sounds like. How much of that color are we going to include in the image? Are we going to include so much, the absolute most, and bump up the saturation completely? Or do we want no green at all?
I'm biased towards a lot of saturation.
Oh, me too.
I don't know why.
So guilty.
I wonder if everybody that works with like creativity and visuals, if they're like more color and then just make it, because when you increase saturation, everything is more colorful, not just, you know, whatever is bigger, like every little detail is just like shining in your face.
No, it's absolutely true. But the beauty of working with saturation under the color mixer with HSL is that you're only affecting one specific color at a time. So rather than bumping up the saturation on your overall, you know, on your overall edits, which would increase, it would bring out like the blues and the skin tone, the purples, and here, right now, we're only working with one color at a time. And then finally, we have luminance. And luminance just means how bright is this color within the image or how dark is it. So with the green, we can really make the green super, super bright, or we can make the green super, super dark. So once I go in here and I want to sort of like play around with the green, I was kind of like on your vibe with like wanting to heat the green up a little bit, make it a little bit warmer.
Yeah,
I'm also
like bright colors.
Yeah, I'm also very much on your tip for like make it very green, like all the way green. Sometimes if you are going for that vintage vibe though, you might want to like desaturate it a little bit, because if it's an old image and you're sort of wanting to go for maybe like a more like vintage film look, sometimes the colors have faded.
Yeah.
I am not particularly doing that in this image. I actually kind of want the green to pop a little bit. And then when we go to luminance, I don't know, it's like, in a way, increasing the luminance of the green helps to create contrast between the subject and the background.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there's like definition in it when we decrease it a little bit. So I'm actually gonna decrease it here.
Okay.
And then overall, you know, we can continue with all of our regular color adjustments. Maybe we want to bump up the clarity slightly, again, to just sort of bring in like a little bit more texture. We could play with warming it up. But honestly, the only aspect of the image that I would really warm up is the person. And so what we could do in here is that we could go back to our AI masking tools, and we can select the person. And here, I'm just gonna select the entire person. Create mask, and we are just gonna go over here, and we're just gonna like slightly increase the temperature. To me, that feels so much better already. I think that like in the past, what I might have done was go into Color Mixer under HSL, and I would have just like decreased the blues a little bit to try to remove some of it from the skin tone, because we were photographing in the shade. But then that would have removed some of the blues from the shirt too. And really what I was trying to do was just like warm up the body of the person. So here, this already looks a lot better to me. We have our before and our after, before, after. It just feels like a more finished product with just like these really small
It feels more
adjustments.
refined. Like this could be something used professionally in whatever way that you want it. Just feels very refined, and it's such a beautiful photo too.
Yeah, and we can also, you know, break my own rule and go in and sort of like crop it differently, you know, get rid of some of that negative space too. So as we move in to some of our final photos here, let's edit an image of Anushka. So speaking of tools of the trade, this was like a really fun photo, but let's see which one we want to work with. I think I want to do, I love this photo of her so much. Okay, I want to work with this image.
Has a lot of whites.
Yes. So in here, like really, really, really fantastic studio space, really bright. I mean, she is just like a phenomenal painter. So what I'm going to do is I am going to scroll down to, where is it? Lens correction. Right now I have manual selected. I'm going to click on profile. From here, I'm going to enable profile corrections. This just helps get rid of some of the distortion from my lens. It's kind of something that I do by default. And then in here, I'm going to just straighten it out a little bit. And then honestly, this was like one of those really like wonderful lucky images where it's already kind of looking really great.
Yeah.
But I want to make it pop a little bit more. So I'm really gonna bump up the saturation here, increase the contrast just a smidge, but then decrease my highlights so that this isn't super blown out. And if I still feel like, oh, you know what, like it's still feeling like a little wild, it's still like a little too bright, I can just go in and brush in a little bit of lowering the exposure. Just
Would you say like too much brightness is the number one thing that you correct on Lightroom, what do you think it's the one thing that like, oh, this is something I need help with constantly because, you know, nature and light and things like that? Like, what would you say?
I think that my favorite thing to do in Lightroom is either, exposure or honestly playing with HSL. Like the colors, you can create contrast by using, you know, the highlights and the shadows, like literally this toggle right here. But you can also create contrast with color. And it's just this like really imaginative, like wonderful world where you can just play and do so much. So once I'm in here, I am noticing that, you know, she's already like standing out in a really fantastic way. I'm like feeling this vibe. So from here, I am going to scroll down, and when I look at color grading here, sometimes a little trick that I like to use if something is feeling like, here, I'm gonna just exaggerate this a little bit. If I'm feeling like things are like really contrasty and I, you know, don't want it to look like that, I'm actually not going to be that crazy. What I'm going to do is scroll down here and go to color grading. And then once I select shadows, I like just sort of playing with the luminance. So bringing this up just kind of like brings out the shadows in a way that for me allows me to retain contrast while still bringing in detail in the shadows.
So what exactly does it do, like the luminance?
So I'm gonna be really extreme with it. So here we have shadows, we have our midtones, and then we have our highlights. And basically, once we have one selected, luminance, again, as it is in HSL, just means like how bright or dark we're making something. So if we want to make the shadows really dark, we drag this all the way down. If we want to make the shadows really bright, we drag it all the way up. This is like a really cool effect if you want to make something look like film, or if you want to sort of add like a stylistic flat quality to an image while still retaining some contrast. And so this is like something that I personally really love to use, and I'll just like bump it up a little bit just so that, again, we just don't want to have like a dark blob anywhere where we're losing details in the shadows. So once we feel like the image is in a good place, you know, I might go and create like another brush where I'm darkening a little bit more just to try to like bring some of this stuff back in. Right? Like we love a messy paint, like tablecloth. We want to see the tools of the trade, the brushes in the background. If you're really into this too, you can be like, oh, I want to increase the contrast. Maybe you even want to bump up the saturation a little bit here to really like have those colors stand out in the background. I'm like a total color queen, and so I'm going to do that. And then from here, what I'm going to do is export just this image, and let's put it here. Adobe Live, we'll just put it right there.
Yeah, we have something like 11 minutes left, so
yes.
we can,
we're almost done.
Yes, I'm curious to see what you do next.
So right now I'm just going to pull this file out, and then we're going to go into Photoshop to just make some really quick final adjustments. So maybe we can hop off my screen really fast here, and I am going to just pull this into Photoshop so that I'm not literally sharing every aspect of my screen with everyone that is live with us. And what I'm hiding, you all, is my 600,000 tabs, which you can see.
I can see it. That doesn't mean I can read it.
You can vouch for my like 25 million things that are open. All right, let's bring it back to my screen. So now that we are in Photoshop, we can be a little bit more nitpicky. And when I look at this image, I'm like, love her, love what she's wearing, love her materials, love the space, she looks so cool. Hate whatever this, it's like a switch.
Oh,
like,
that's beautiful. Can you make it full screen for us so we can see bigger?
So like really like not feeling this vibe. I also don't like that this is going directly through her head. Also like, what is this red string wire, loose wire about to like do something crazy?
So can you fix that and like 5 minutes that we have left. Do you think you could?
That's the name of the game, baby. So tried to wait till the last minute so that we could show you all how to work under pressure. So now, we have this like wonderful, gorgeous, fancy tool that we all have come to know and love called generative fill. And from here, we are just I'm literally just going to make like a super loose selection in here. And I am like, look at this. I'm not even zooming in. I'm literally just like loosely circling this little wire box.
This is inside the selection.
Let's gen fill it. Yeah, we're just trying to get rid of it. We don't really want it. It feels a little distracting. Sometimes generative fill does us a lot of favors, like just now. Perfect. If we're like, what does an alternate white background look like? We can like scroll through various options. But honestly, that first one is the best because the other ones kind of bring something in right here that I don't really love.
Yes.
So we're gonna keep that first variation. Now, what I'm gonna do is get rid of all the other junk I don't like. So I am going to come in here. I'm going to select this spot that is going through her head because we just kind of want to get rid of it like that. And again, I didn't even zoom in. I'm not being that precious about it. I just don't want it there. So
yeah, it's awesome for removing stuff, and a good reason. Like, you could be thinking like, why would I do that? Like, maybe you're not thinking it's a big deal, but when you have a professional portrait, you want the focus to be on the person being photographed, right?
exactly.
And these distractions can really, distract you from what you want to be highlighted, which is the person.
Exactly. And, I am not a graphic designer, but I think that all people that work in the visual world sort of understand the difference between having like a really clean space around something that you're trying to highlight versus, having like a line going through someone's head and how uncomfortable and distracting that can feel.
It looks so like smooth.
Yeah, it already looks so much better. And so at this point, we have 4 minutes left. Why stop there? Let's go in and get rid of, this little red thing. Oops. Make sure that we're on our background. We'll just get rid of this. Make that super easy. And then we can also go in and take this out as well. And, I'll tell you all, when I originally shot these photos, generative fill was not something that existed yet. And I'm pretty sure that I delivered these photos with the line going through her head.
But you can see how it looks so much more refined now with the tool being used.
I know, it does. I feel like I need to follow up with her and be like, hey, cutie, like...
Here's an improved version
Here's an improved version of this, like, really old
You're
thing.
welcome.
So let's
God, I love it.
Let's just see. I mean, who knows? Sometimes when you get into the corners, like, it can get a little tricky, but let's just see how this is looking in here. But basically, generative fill is just something that I don't use to create, like, a finished product from nothing. I use it to just sort of remove the existing tasks at hand that I might have to do that I don't really want to spend my time on. Right now, I didn't actually remove those wires entirely. I just helped create like a corner. And I did this we've done all of these adjustments in under 2 minutes at this point. And it just is a really fantastic way of up-leveling your images. And, whereas before you might have something that is like distracting.
Too easy a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, distracting and sort of like moving through the frame in a way that you don't really want it to. This is just a simple and easy, really accessible way that you can use tools that are powered by Firefly to amplify your images. So look at the difference.
Yeah, that's awesome.
After,
I love
before, after.
everything that we created here, and I think it's so cool to see how these tools that are used by professionals like you are now so advanced that they can be used by almost anybody that has interest in learning them, because the goal is to make it accessible. So I absolutely love it. Me and people in the chat, we are going to be tuning in to try to use Adobe Lightroom soon, rather than later. And if you are going to stay with us, if you're going to watch it, we're gonna come back in about 5 minutes for the part 2 of the series of typographic posters inspired by the Women's Month. Me and Emily are gonna be here. Thanks so much for joining us, Anna.
Thank you so much, and good to see you all again. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Emily Poulin and this is Mickt. If you tuned in earlier today when I could still speak straight, Mickt started us off the day with some really cool typographic posters. And so this is part 2 of that stream where we're gonna bring it to life, I guess. More color, more illustration, all sorts of really fun things are planned for the stream.
Yes, absolutely. We are gonna be working on finalizing our piece, and this is, like we said, a 2-part series. This is the final part. If you missed the first part, just go back and watch it because it's gonna be recorded, obviously.
Yeah, the link right here in the middle. Thanks, studio manager.
You can see the whole process because this is really about, you know, showing you guys how you can have a more streamlined process with your design workflow. Okay, so let's start. This is where we stopped. This is where we ended. Not ended, we stopped.
Yeah, we paused.
You paused, yes. Oh man. Okay, so I have, and just to give you, you know, context a little bit, this is what we had before. This is where we're going. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna copy these 3 artboards and we're gonna work with the copy. We're not gonna mess with this.
Okay.
Why? So we have a copy, and if we, you know, mess up somehow, we don't like what we do, or we need more options, also to have like a way to record your process for your portfolio, for a client. You know, sometimes you need to explain to them where you came from. Sometimes you need to show them, see, I already tried what you requested me, it didn't work.
It's not the solution.
Yeah, so this is kind of what you're asking me, and this is why I didn't show it to you, because you can see this is not working, so this is why I'm showing something different now. Sometimes it can really help you communicate your ideas, so just save your versions.
I feel like this is a really great workflow. I don't work as cleanly as this per step, so this is actually a really good reminder. And I feel like too, sometimes the client wants to see, like, you may have tried it, right? And you're like, this wasn't the right solution, so I didn't show it to you. And like, I think it can open up the conversation of like, I don't think it's successful for these reasons. And sometimes the client's like, yeah, I don't agree. And then you can move forward with like what their direction is. And it just depends on like that client relationship that you have. But it is always helpful to be like, in my professional experience, I think that this is more successful because of this, you know? So just a little conversation to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely, because it goes back to how you're going to communicate your ideas with your team or with the clients, you know, whoever it is that needs to see your process, please don't throw it away. Okay. So we have our colors here. Remember, I added some white. It wasn't originally in the colors that they sent, the client, that being, but we added a white. If the black wasn't here, we could add a black too, some sort of black. And what I'm gonna do now, you can see that I created some little elements, some different stars and some geometrical shapes. What I think I'm gonna do is start applying these shapes to our posters, but in a way that won't take the focus out of the words, because according to our design brief, what the client wants to be the focus are the quotes, right? So always keep in mind what this is for, what the objective of the project is, so you don't lose yourself into, you know, your ideas and like, I think it should be, you know.
Right. I think that's such a good point. Yeah, you're like, what's our main goal? What's the main takeaway? And for this, it's the quotes, right? Women are magic. The future is female. And so we don't want to lose that or like have the design get in the way of that. Yes. I think it can be really helpful as you're guiding your process.
Yeah, and making sure everything is legible is also important. So that's why I put the text first. I would say if it was a project that was more focused on illustration, perhaps I would start with the illustration, and I would make sure the text, you know, kind of came after. But since it's the other way around, I thought it would make more sense to start with the text. So I kind of like this idea here of making this a frame.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll fill the spaces with the elements, but I also think this could be a little bit smaller.
Jeffrey in chat says that they shared the first part of the stream with a college student chat that they're a part of. I don't know, sorry, I made up, did I say college? Okay, yeah, with a college student chat they're a part of, which is awesome. We're super excited to get everyone at every level of the design process in here, so thank you so much for sharing. We're super glad that you did that. Jack also is saying that she loves the little star elements, and if you didn't catch that, Mickt customized some of this type in the very first stream, and it was so
Yeah,
fun.
right here.
Little bellies and little stars, and what do you want to call the angles? Like, I don't know. The belly was like the rounder part.
Yeah, this is what I'm calling
The belly, yeah. But what would we call like the side part? Like the
Yeah, so basically everything that was looking too rigid, we made it a little bit more flowy, more organic, more round, to bring this friendliness, to bring this fun aspect that the client wants us to have.
I'm obsessed. It's so fun.
Yeah. Okay. So let me align this here, and this is stuff that I need to realign constantly. So, you know, this is the process. I think I want a star right
Sorry.
here.
Jack in the chat said Emily's doing the YMCA. You're not
You
wrong,
were,
Jack.
I
You know, when I talk about type, I'm doing things with my hands.
I do a lot of things with my hands, especially because English is my second language. So I try to explain with gestures.
Right?
sometimes.
Yeah. Especially with like design, I
people
feel
are
like
like,
there's feeling to it.
There is, you know, big part of design school was calling projects the thing. And I'm like, the thing that I'm making is to feel
Right.
a certain way. So it wasn't even about the product. It was about how it makes you feel.
I was just Jack. I was just chatting with Anna-Alexia during my stream, and we were talking a little bit about like type voice. And type voice is what the font says to you without you even having to read it, right? And so I typed into fonts.adobe.com. I did scary.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah, right? Well, it's like I don't even have to read it. I already know. So it's really important to make sure that your type voice is matching up with the design or the feeling that you want. And so
Yeah.
your fonts definitely are doing that.
Yeah, so as you can see here, the thing that I'm making wasn't aligning because my text was,
Live text still.
yeah, it was left aligned.
aligned?
Yeah. No, it's not. Okay.
Chat is singing YMCA now. What have we done?
I mean, it's Friday, so.
That's true. It's dance. It's Friday. We don't normally stream on Fridays, so a special stream for us today.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna bring it here, and you know, I could just mix it up, make a little elements because they have
Smart.
kind of the same weight, so I think it wouldn't disturb me so much seeing that kind of switch the placements here. I think
It's a
it
good
works.
balance. Yeah.
Yeah, they're balanced. They
I'm
have
dancing
similar
again.
weight.
I'm gonna sit on my hands. Don't let me do that.
Please don't do that, no. Okay, so for this one, I really like this shape. I'm gonna group it doing Command G, I think.
Yep. Command G. Command group.
And I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. I'm gonna rotate it. Oops. And I think I'm gonna put it here. I don't know. Let me.
That's fun.
So this shape is the kind of shape that if I were to use it like this, I think it would draw too much attention.
It's kind of heavy.
It is heavy. It's bold, and I don't want it to be competing with the text. It's just
Right.
It's just something to complement the text. You know, it's just something to help the text get where it needs to get. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. I kind of like this,
I love it.
so I'm gonna copy here.
Apurva in chat asked if they time traveled because they left and they came back and this is the same stream. You did not time travel. This is part 2 of the
Yeah.
original type poster stream. So we're glad that you're here for the
This
rest
is
of it.
part 2, yeah. So I wanted to do something that goes a little bit more in depth with the process, so this is why we're taking twice the time because you need it, you know. I wanted to share this with you guys. Okay, so now we have a frame that's much more, you know, it kind of closes the whole
I love that.
area, and I even think this could be bigger.
Definitely. Yeah.
I really like it. Okay, so how would I use the same elements here and here? Remember, this needs to be consistent. It needs to look like they're part of the same family, not just, you know, twins or anything like that. They need to have their own personality, but also be consistent. So I guess I like the way they are set up here as like one next to the other. Maybe I'm gonna reorganize this and put it kind of like here on top. But as you can see, the stars and the more abstract shapes, they have different weights, and I don't think they're properly balanced as they are right now. So
It feels like heavier on the right side, right?
Yes, it's heavier on the right side.
Which
And
leads your eye, I feel like, to like go across and then
if I make it
stay.
smaller, you can see better.
Yeah.
See?
Right. Yeah. They always say like a good read on this too is kind of like not blur your eyes, but kind of like blur your eyes a little bit. And then if something looks too heavy, then you know like, oh, I need to rebalance this. And sometimes that like lack of clarity on what you're seeing can help you understand that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm always zooming out.
Same thing.
And zooming in. I think zooming out is a good way to, because you start to see things as blobs, like shapes.
Not words, right?
Yeah, not
like
words.
this.
It's like a mass of something.
This is probably better to zoom out for your eyes. I don't know if blurring your eyes is bad for you, but I could guess
You don't need to.
Maybe not great, yeah.
Maybe if you're in the paper, but if you have Illustrator, you don't need to do that. So I guess I'm gonna put this star, which has the, you know, the least amount of weight. I'm gonna try to put it in the middle, and I'm gonna put this one. I'm gonna put it here, so they're not stars next to other stars. Maybe something like this.
Super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Always gotta get the align panel, make sure everyone...
Yeah, but the alignment, sometimes you need to align with your eyes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know why it does that sometimes. Chad, do you have a good answer on that? Of like, if you, like these are very clearly distinct shapes. Sometimes the distribute doesn't work properly, and I don't know why. I feel like Jack will probably have an answer for us. Jack knows everything about Illustrator, I think.
Please let us know.
Please help us.
No,
but yeah,
no big deal, but please let us know.
Optically is a good rule of thumb. Yeah, that balance looks great.
Yeah, so you can see it distributed the stars in a way that makes it a little bit more, it looks a little bit more like thought out.
Yeah.
I didn't just throw them here. Okay, and for the word magic, I was kind of thinking that we could play with this type even more. And the way I want to do it is I want to put kind of one kind of overlapping the other, making them more snugly.
Snugly.
Yeah, it's something that you don't see with standard font usage. So this would add a good amount of personality to our work. So let me add a stroke of white, and then you can start placing them closer to each other.
Okay, Jack says distribute spacing, not distribute objects. I knew you would know, Jack.
Here.
Yeah, I never clicked those actually.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but do I gotta make it based on one object? Maybe that's what it was. And if we increase it, that's what it was.
Thanks, Jack.
So you gotta align to a specific object first, right?
The more you know. I've never dug deep enough. I've just been like, I'll just do it visually. It's fine.
And if I do Command G, it's in the middle again. Perfect. Thank you.
Love it.
Sometimes I forget that you can manually adjust the distance.
Or sometimes you just don't know, like me.
There's so many features, right? It would be weird if you knew everything.
I mean...
Not that Jack is weird.
Okay. Tell me what you're doing behind me, since you're behind yourself, since you can't see it. So you're doing transform.
Oh, you can see it.
Okay,
maybe... sorry, I'm working here.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the C to back... send to back here.
Oh, perfect. It's right between us. Send it back.
Yeah. And I'm going to send the other ones to
the front. So you're getting kind of like a layered look.
Yes.
Jack says, oh, I am weird. I own that. Jack, we love you.
Yeah, I think being weird is cool now.
I am just always amazed at...
Because the other option is being normal. Who wants to,
wants to be
normal?
Like, can another option be magic? I would like to be that.
I would like to be magic. Weird and magical. Okay, so do you see how this looks a little bit more interesting?
Yeah.
It adds a little bit of personality. And I'm not making them too close together, because then you might lose important parts of the letters, and these parts might be important for them to continue to be legible. So yeah, so maybe don't, when you're bringing the letters together, be attentive for that. And that's also why I added a stroke here.
Smart.
To help with the legibility of everything. Okay, and I really like this so much. I think I'm gonna copy it and kind of create a pattern like below here.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense yet.
I think so, but show us. There is no better
let me do group
example than to show.
So I just copy it, And I am gonna do like maybe here.
Okay.
I don't want it to be perfectly aligned to the middle. I'm gonna ungroup and remove the parts that are, maybe I'll keep this one. Yeah. And here I'm intentionally trying to make the letters bleed out of the page, right? And if I were to copy this, I'm not gonna put them in the same place because I want the organization. Yeah, I want it to be more dynamic, but here I'm getting outside of the
I'm surprised
space.
It didn't say that. Normally it'd be like, can't paste off artboard or,
Yeah, but if you I don't know why, maybe that's also a question for Jack, but for some reason, when you're like, oh, you have some space on this left corner, it doesn't show you that.
Yeah.
It
I
really
wonder if
doesn't.
there's like an amount that you can go over, like an allowed overage. Jack is like the wizard in the Wizard of Oz. They're like, oh, great wizard, tell us.
Okay, so here I'm gonna do view, trim view,
I love
and it
trim
kind
view.
of gets rid of the stuff, which is, the work that we're making, but it's not gonna be the final. And this way you can kind of see what I'm trying to do. I'm kind of creating a pattern with this letter, where the first one is just the word, and then the second and the third rows are like, I'm repeating them, but they're not aligned. It's like little bricks, if that make any sense.
I actually think that is, if you're building a brush pattern or just a pattern in Illustrator, I think it's like arranged by brick is one of the...
Arranged by brick.
Right, so yeah, you're totally using the right language. We understand that in Illustrator land.
I don't know if... I guess I want to be more purposeful with this and make it really bleed.
Yeah, instead of... I give that feedback a lot to like beginner designers or people who are trying to like improve their composition, where it's like sometimes it can be distracting if there's like not enough space. It's just like a small space, so you're kind of like, is it going to fall? Like what's happening there? And it can be distracting. So I think it's either a good choice to bring it away or like go over the line,
Yeah, like show that you did this on purpose.
Right.
Intentional, yes.
Not
that's
being like,
what I was looking for.
Ran out of room.
Yeah, show that you're intentional with your choices, and I think this is what's doing here.
That's great. That's so fun. And it's cool because, yeah, it makes this no longer like a word. It makes it a pattern, right, for those lower pieces, which is really fun.
Yeah, so you start seeing the letters as visual elements too, like visual abstract elements that have a meaning of, telling you something, but they also have a different meaning if you use them this way.
Jack said that she wasn't quite clear on our question. We were saying, like if you paste and sometimes it goes too far off the artboard into that light gray area, it'll block you from pasting it. But we had some going over a little bit and it was okay.
Yeah, like...
It's like how much is too much?
Yeah, like
right,
if I had done it like that.
It's going to be like, hey, can't do that. But it'll do a little bit of it. So what's the rhyme or reason? Yeah, what? Make it make sense.
I don't know, but I'm thankful for that. Don't change.
I'm all like, I need answers. You're like, I'm okay with it.
I like that you allow a little bit of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so I really like this composition here.
Yeah.
I want to use this shape to kind of frame the word R. I think it's a little bit lost here in the middle. And I'm going to use this one because it's the larger shape that can contain something. So I'm going to do Pathfinder, and then I'm gonna unite. I shouldn't have done this here. I gotta create a copy and unite. And I'm gonna put it here.
Jack says yes, it's because you're on the edge of the canvas. Yes, but like it seems like there's an allowed amount that you're allowed to go over the edge of the canvas, and then there's like not an allowed amount. It's okay. It's our just bigger questions with Illustrator. We need to know.
Yeah, it's just out of curiosity.
Yeah. One of the great mysteries of life.
So now you can see this page is much more filled, but like it's filled with elements, but you have a little bit of the text and you have a little bit of the illustration elements. And I created a little canvas here for the word R because the word R isn't supposed to be so big. I don't want to give it so much attention. This is about women being magic. So the R is just here to connect those two.
To finish our sentence, yes. Cool, these compositions are looking awesome.
Yeah, cool. And now I'm gonna work on the other two because I'm not done.
Okay, we are about 20 minutes into the stream, so we got about 25 minutes left. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
Let's work with this one, because this one I kind of have an idea what I want to do, and I don't know if it's going to take too much time. So here I have my effect of, you know, the word her is being lifted. And I'm going to add a stroke of black here so that you can really see. I also want to start adding some elements here. So, you know, the same elements, but I also want to hand draw something. So let's go to the colors. Here are the colors that we have, but I'm going to show you how you can create more colors if you need without changing, you know, anything about the branding of the company or the client that you're working with. So let's say I needed more colors. I might not necessarily use them here, but if I needed, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of them. I'm gonna turn the opacity down maybe to 60%. And you can kind of see how different they are. It has a good contrast. So if I went to select all of them, of all of the colors, go to Object and do Flatten Transparency. And here you can choose to modify a few things about this, but I don't think I need to modify anything here. I don't have any strokes.
I'm so curious what you're doing. I've never seen this before.
I'm basically flattening the transparency so you have lighter shades of the same colors.
Interesting. So instead of choosing a new value, you dropped the transparency and then you flattened it into, so is it a vector still or is it raster? It's a vector.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a rectangle.
Man, do I even know Illustrator at all? She has so many features.
Like the white doesn't really do much.
Yeah, that
to
one's
the white.
the same.
Yeah, like you
That's
don't really
super
need
interesting.
It, but, it works really well for all the other colors. And if you, let's say, oh, I need more, just copy, you know, just copy the same colors and do
it again. I need to see it again. Can you go darker? No.
We already have 100% opacity.
Right, yeah. So you'd have to choose a new value then.
I think if you wanted to have a darker version of this, you could probably do, maybe you could put like a black on top of it. I don't even know.
Sorry, I don't mean to get you off track here. I'm just talking out loud. We can just...
That's a good question. So let me see. Because I'm trying to see if you would like flatten two elements together. So this one would probably have to be like...
Yeah.
Like
okay,
this.
yeah, right. And so
if I select both, would it flatten?
I don't know. So you do object
and flatten?
Flatten transparency. Interesting. Yeah. Is it its own shape?
Let's see.
Jack said if you put black behind it should
It worked. It worked.
That's so interesting. Was this something like a method? I've never seen coloring.
So the front rectangle became the new color.
Right.
Okay, I didn't try that yet because I don't.
We're all learning today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's super helpful though. So like if you wanted to do a shadow and stuff, you could just do it that way.
From the same color, yeah.
Illustrator, you're amazing.
Yeah, this is really
also, you're
cool.
amazing and showing us this workflow, so thank you for that.
Sure, no problem. I learned it from someone else.
And I'm now learning it from you. Yeah. And that's Adobe Live, everyone. That's the point of it all.
That's why it's so cool, yeah. Okay, so I have my colors here, and I can start thinking what colors I'm gonna use, but also I can start drawing something. So let's draw some things to change it up.
Chat has a good question. Do you have the ability to eyedrop the blended color? No, I think it should stay, yeah. Jack says, not without changing eyedropper settings, yes. Otherwise, it's just gonna pick up the same value because all you did was reduce the opacity, but like the actual value itself is the same, like, or like the number of the color.
You can eyedrop it.
Yeah, but it wouldn't pick up like the, well, you could now before you flatten the transparency.
Okay, yeah, no, that's why you flatten it, right?
Right. Otherwise, it would just pick up like the 100% saturation of it.
Yes, that's why. That and, you know, so it's not transparent.
Right, yeah. And sometimes, depending on the setting of your eyedropper, it would pick up the opacity of it, meaning like it would be almost see-through.
Yes. So I'm going to try to draw freely with the pencil tool.
Cool. I love pencil tool.
and I'm using a trackpad, so bear with me.
Should I give you my mouse? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's
Oh,
been
you're not a
years
mouse
since
person. Okay.
just because I haven't used it in such a long
That's
time,
fair.
but I probably should. You know, I usually use a tablet.
Do you use
for
tablet?
this.
Okay.
Yeah, like a drawing tablet, and
that's
it's
good to
perfect for
know.
this.
Yeah.
So let's say I want to smooth some of these lines. You can go here. I think it's right click. For me, it's double click. And then go to smooth tool. It's under the pencil tool. And you can kind of smooth the lines a little bit. But I also find it easy to just, you know, select all the...
Properties.
Yeah.
That is really nice. Axel in
Depends
chat.
on what it wants to do.
Yeah, definitely different way. Sorry. Axel saying that you can do it in the color guide as well, and that's typically how I have chosen color shades, but I really like the way that you did it.
Yeah, because
cool.
if you're just, you know, experimenting, it's just a really quick way to play with the colors.
Yeah.
And then once you decided, that's when you go and make everything official.
That's when you commit.
That's when you commit. Exactly. Yeah, we're not committed here. I'm just showing you how to experiment.
So fun.
So I
Cool.
made a little cool cloud, and I'm gonna make more clouds. I think I want like different weights of clouds, and some of them going above
Okay.
the letters here. Let's see how this is gonna be.
So if you're just joining, we're super glad that you're here. Mickt is working on the second part, or part 2, of this typographic poster
That's cool.
design stream, which are highlighting empowering phrases for women.
Yes.
I guess it's phrases for anybody, but about women.
Yeah, we're doing projects that have women as the focus point,
Because March is Women's History Month.
and we are women.
Clouds work with the message. I agree.
Yeah, they do. I don't like this one. This one's a little bit wonky.
Goodbye, Cloud. It was fun while it lasted.
I don't want them to be like perfectly aligned because it's not gonna give me the effect that I want, which is like something organic, right? I'm trying to do something that has organic shapes, so I don't want it to be symmetrically
Right.
aligned, and I can change it.
And Jack just dropped your link to your Instagram, so everyone definitely go check it out. Your work is amazing, and I know you're just gonna be blown away when you see it. So thank you for dropping that in, Jack.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are about 25 minutes out. So just to give you a marker on that.
Yeah, I think we're doing a good time.
I think we are.
Once we agree on the composition, it's just a matter of putting, oh, I really like this cloud, of putting the colors in. And I was going to mention that it's always good to try to work in black and white. Some people feel like they can't do that. They need to try 100 colors. But when I'm working with a client or, you know, a professional project that's not personal project,
Right.
this is usually the workflow I have. I work in shades of gray, and then I put the colors after I am happy with the contrast. And contrast is really the reason. So you can see, you know, how much of a lighter value you need here in order for it to be legible against this color, which is going to be, you know, a darker value. And of course, this is not set in stone. It can change at any time, but it's just so it doesn't overwhelm you with how much information you have when you're making something, especially if you're doing something more complex than a poster.
I feel like that color can be such a benefit, but it also can be like a distracting element where someone will be like, oh, I don't like it. And it turns out, oh, it's just like you didn't like the color, but you couldn't separate that from the composition. So I think that can be really helpful too, to like land one plane and then we'll come back and like add that in. So I think it's really smart.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a way to just not get yourself overwhelmed from
Simplify.
the beginning. Yeah. Especially if you're working with something that it has to be legible. You know, if we're talking about accessibility, many times I'm working with projects that deal with accessibility, and you're gonna need a certain level of contrast between the elements. I'm not saying it's the case here, but if it is, this is a good way to try to train your eye for that. I really like these little clouds. I
Cute.
don't know. I guess I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger here. I want it to be on top.
I'm so sorry if you're hearing my stomach growl.
I can't even hear
Okay,
it, so
great.
don't worry. Okay, so I'm gonna center this a little bit. And I'm making it smaller so I can see things better. Okay, I really like these clouds, and I am gonna put some elements on top of the clouds to give it the idea that we're in the sky. Does that make sense?
Yes. Jack has a question. Do you use any tools to check contrast?
I use tools to check contrast when I'm doing UI design. So they're like web tools when you're, creating a website or you have an image on your website. So they're like browser based.
Right.
And you can like eyedrop things. I didn't need to use that for Illustrator yet. But I did for web
UX,
design. Yeah, UX and UI.
Which for accessibility mode is really important for UX UI in case, everyone has different levels of vision capability. And so there's certain buttons that like wouldn't show for certain people. So accessibility really is important across all design, but I feel like it is especially highlighted on a website's usability.
Yeah, because there's more readable content.
Yeah. But Jack, do you have any tools and tricks for Illustrator readability? Is there something in the program we don't know about that we should be
I'm sure it
looking
is.
at? I know. She already knows. She has the trick up her sleeve.
She's like, I'm pulling it up as we speak.
Yeah. She's like,
Okay.
and if you see my tutorial.
So I'm gonna bring these elements here. I'm gonna make them a little bit smaller because I want to put them on top of my clouds, but I don't want them to overpower everything. So I'm gonna, bring them to front, some of them. And here I can start playing with the variations of the stars. I don't want them to all look the same. Pretty cool.
Oh, that's so fun. I love the dimension that like automatically brings to it. Oh, Jack is linking color.adobe.com. Create color contrast analyzer.
Yes,
I
I
love
remember
that.
now. I used it before.
I don't think I have, but that's really helpful.
Oops. Because sometimes you need a certain percentage of contrast between the elements, but if there is no requisite, if it's not required or
Yeah, requisite.
something, you can just make sure it's visible when it's as small as possible.
Ooh, it's magical. I know this one isn't magic, but it's giving like ethereal with the clouds and the ooh.
Yeah,
That was a superstar.
that's what I'm trying to do. Oh, it's like this one. I'm gonna make it different. Okay. I want more.
Jack says Adobe thinks of everything. So true.
Yeah, right. Because you gotta create tools for everybody. And sometimes if it's not like for us, we don't think about it.
Right.
Or until someone tells us, oh, there's the need for
Which
this.
I feel
That's
like is
when we learn.
right. What we were saying earlier, like diversity is so important, especially when it comes. And like I feel like that's to usability and things like that. I think it's so important, and like you don't even see the world like quite literally with your eyes the same way that other people do. So it's important to look at that.
I'm gonna add a round rectangle,
Okay.
and I'm gonna use as confetti.
Cute. Oh my gosh, I
That
love
make
this
any
one.
sense. And it kind of plays really well with the shapes that we use to make the main words on the poster. So, everything's conversing really well.
I like that you're having some organic shapes like the clouds that you drew, and then this is kind of more of like a geometric shape. I think it's really fun to have you like marrying the two of those in one composition is really cool.
And if you want to create dimension with elements like this, just change their size, sometimes their color. It's gonna look like some are closer to us, some are farther away from us. And you can create this with 2D elements as well. You don't need to. This is not something that you can only do with 3D. Doesn't it look fun?
Yes, I love it. I'm so excited for you to bring color to this. Like, I
Me
just can't
too.
wait.
Let me just bring
I'm
more
not rushing you.
confetti.
I just am letting you know. I'm like, oh, now there's confetti. Like, there's gonna be more color. I'm ready. Take me there.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about this as a decoration piece, right? So back to the design brief. How is this going to be used, you know? So when you're making something for an user, you got to keep in mind what would be desirable. What are the qualities that someone would want in that in that project that you're working on? So if this is something for decoration, for, you know, house decor, they want it to be fun, this is a really cool way to add a fun aspect to it. I think highlighting happiness and joy when we talk about Women's Month is also important, you know, not just
Absolutely.
the struggles and everything like that.
You still have to focus on some happy feelings as well.
Yeah, right. What is it called? Something to do with the dopamine of something that's like happy and joyful and bright. It just makes us feel better.
Like a dopamine hit, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, dopamine hit maybe.
I don't know if that's the first
not
one
hit.
Yeah, I know. I was
it's
like, why
called-
did that get a little intense?
There is something called dopamine decor.
Oh, really? Decor?
Yeah, decor. Yeah,
Oh.
like it's a
Just like a happy space for you?
happy space
love
with a lot of
that.
colors, a lot of, you know, color
Huh.
blocking,
I've never heard that, but
fun
I
shapes.
fully get it. Yeah.
Yeah, you should look on the internet.
Come on the internet.
It's-
I don't know if you've
it's
been there
there.
before.
Let me think what I want to do here. So for this one, I can use the same clouds in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to create a pattern, but I'm gonna put this in the back. So let me just create a new layer, bring it down here just by dragging it. I'm gonna call it back. I got it. Clouds in the background.
Let's be very specific.
Yeah, because if I call it background and I add
Could be
another
anything.
background color, I'm gonna have to rename the layer anyway. So naming the layer is also really important when you're delivering an open file to your client.
I just had someone ask me for a file today, and I said, I inherited this file from someone else. I don't know if you're quite ready to see the behind the scenes of this file.
What was in it?
It was just like a really layered Photoshop file, and so I was like, I can send you what it is that you need. I don't think you should see the inner workings of this file.
Oh, okay. It was like messy.
It was really messy. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so adding names to the layers, you know, adding names to the boards. You can name them right here when you select the board. You can call
Professional,
it-
yes.
Yeah. This is something that I didn't used to do until, I don't know, last month. I was always, you know, naming the boards in the end. But
Yeah,
now,
name the output file.
yeah, but now that, and then it would be like artboard 12, copy 7, and then whatever suffix I put.
Right.
But if you name it here,
It'll export for you.
yeah, it would give you with a name that already makes sense for the project you're working on. You
Right.
don't need to rename
And you have to
everything.
go back.
Yeah.
Are you using asset export then when you export your artboards?
For exporting the finished product, I do for the client to review. I do just save for web or
Okay.
save screens. But it really depends on the need.
Because I feel like it doesn't pull your artboard name unless you do asset export. At least in my experience.
Something like this.
Okay, yeah.
So it does pull the name sometimes.
Super helpful.
Okay. This will make sense, I promise. So I'm trying to create a pattern here. I'm gonna get the guides, hide the guides. So we have kind of the same shape, but it's applied in a different way. As you can see here,
Nice.
if you're looking at just this poster, it's very different than this one. It's gonna be even more different if you use different colors. So it creates a little bit of, we're using the same elements, but not in the same way. And I'm gonna reuse this little confetti here, right here,
Okay.
because this is a little bit too structured.
Right.
Right here and here, the second and the third posters, we have a little bit more of a flowy vibe going on.
It's really dynamic and like, yeah.
So all the time I'm trying to think of ways to bring consistency to this piece.
Because we want them to be not twins, but related.
Related. They're part of the same family.
Yes, sisters, not twins. You have about 15 minutes left.
Okay, that's perfect.
Time is flying, but you are crushing it.
So as you can see, this already gave it more depth.
Yeah.
I think if it was just like a poster with this word layered over and over again, it would already look like a magic. It would already look a really interesting piece of decoration.
Right.
But we're trying to send the whole message. Okay.
It's so hard to not say the word that you're reading as like you're looking at it. You're like, it's magic.
Yeah. Okay. So now I think I'm gonna do color.
It's time.
Yes. And again, I'm gonna select everything with all my layers unlocked, and I'm gonna copy.
You have such a great workflow.
I need a little bit more space, but it's fine
Please.
because I'm not gonna mess with it. You can also put it over here. See, we have a lot of space.
It's true.
Okay, so I'm just gonna copy my colors here because remember, this is the phase where you're like undeciding what colors to use. So I'm gonna do like one poster a different background color.
Okay.
So let me hide the guides. I don't need to see them right now. They're distracting me. I am gonna create a new layer and I'm gonna call it
Color.
background color. So just if I need to move anything around, I'm not gonna move the background too. You know, sometimes it's easy to just create everything in the same layer.
Chats in all caps. Yay, color. Everyone's really excited.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it bleed a little bit,
Smart.
just for the sake of,
Bleed.
yeah.
And if you don't know what bleed is the excess area offside the artboard that
Yeah, this
you run the
area
color off of, so you don't end up with a white gap on the edge of your print when
Yeah,
it's cut down to size.
because sometimes when they cut it, it's
It'll
not
shift.
100% exact. So
Mhm.
even the machines are not, 100% perfect. So why do you have to be? You don't.
That's true.
Okay, so I'm thinking about this one blue because it's sky.
Love.
And I'm thinking
Wow.
about this one, I don't know, maybe green. And I'm thinking maybe this one
It's gotta be the pink.
pink. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put black in the background.
Well, it could be like magic, like mystery, but
Yeah, I'm trying
I like
to
the
think of
pink.
something.
No, it's cute.
flat. Okay.
I accept the pink. In case.
Okay. So now we're gonna think of colors that are gonna really pop up against the background. So here I could use some of the tones that I created so that the clouds are not so much in your face, because right now they're kind of like shining more than the letters. So if you wanted to make them a little bit more, oh, and something else that you can do when you feel like, if you're trying things out and you know you're gonna use a stroke, just add the stroke that you want to use
Oh,
to
super
your
smart
colors.
for the eyedropper
Yeah.
because it'll pick up the styling of that.
Yeah, because when you do the eyedropper, it's not gonna copy a stroke because it doesn't have it. Let me look this. I don't know if I selected everything. But I can make, a lighter shade, or I can make the same shade but with stroke.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking this.
I like the light blue. I think it's good.
Yeah, but
Is there a reason that you left those two clouds out?
no.
No.
It was a mistake. It was a mistake. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of them. I'm gonna put them now with a little stroke. You can see it when it's bigger, but
Right.
if it's small, you can't see it. So I wasn't sure if I had applied it. Okay, I'm thinking this could be pink.
So fun.
Oh, here, I need a minimum of contrast.
I feel like it pops enough.
Yeah.
Do you feel more?
I think it needs a stroke.
The stroke. When in doubt.
Yeah, let's
Just a really
compromise to the
small one,
stroke.
yeah.
Yeah, just 1 point.
Just one.
This one. And I don't know about this, so let's try different colors.
Ooh. These are great colors you chose. Really fun.
Thank you. The secret is contrast
Mhm.
and not too many colors. They always say less is more. So if you're working with, fewer colors, it's gonna be easier for you. And for a long time, I refused that. But now I don't.
know. But now you're a believer.
Now I believe in that, yes. So this is another way you can do it. And these didn't have a stroke, but I had it. So this is a way that you can go about it. So the green is only applied to this word as to give it another layer of this is the important part of it.
Her. She's her.
Yeah. Gotta focus, put women first.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do I wanna, I'm thinking the stars could be white.
I was thinking white. Not to be
White.
really literal, but I think it works.
Yeah, let me select the little confetti too. Like if you don't wanna,
Yeah, I was wondering, are you gonna do the confetti in color or just keep it?
like you could just select all of this,
Mhm.
do a Ctrl X and put them all in their own layer.
Okay.
I don't know, call it whatever you want. And then Command Shift V to paste everything in place. So now if you wanna select just them, you just go here and it selects all of them.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You have great organizational and layer usage.
Doesn't always end up this way, but I gotta
practice.
show you know
Yeah,
what.
you're best.
Yeah. I gotta give you guys the best version of myself. Okay. So let's say here I have this little clouds. If I don't want them to pop too much, I can use, the lighter shade of green. Or let's see what else. We can have white. I think the white's beautiful.
I love that.
You like that?
I think so.
Okay, so I'm gonna
Unless
keep
you have
it.
another vision. I'm super here for the journey.
No other vision. It's whatever you want. I really think the blue works well here.
Super.
And then we could leave these black.
Yep. Maybe the stars are a different color, or do you want it to be the same?
It could be a different color.
I almost want it to be like the pink or the blue. Am I crazy for that?
No.
Would you tell me if I was? No.
I would.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I think I would.
You're
I was
like, yeah, I
thinking
hate
about
it.
it. Would I be honest? Yeah. I like it. So now we have, most of the color palette in both posters. This one, perhaps I could use some of them black.
Ooh, okay.
Just some of them. So that I have some
Yes.
presence of all the colors here to make it more consistent. So we have about 10 minutes left.
You have about a little over 5.
Okay, that's perfect. So this is the last one
Here I
that this is the last one that we need to fill. And here I'm gonna do this white.
Perfect.
And I'm gonna do Sensuac. I was thinking of doing this in pink, but since the background is pink, it would have to be something like this.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, but we gotta make it so it has a stroke.
Chat says that they've been running back and forth between this and their job to see the progress.
Thank you.
I know. Thank you for checking in.
It's Friday. You gotta have some fun while you work. I'm not advocating for not working and just watching the live. But maybe.
But we're not your boss. We don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. So here you can, here you can see what we can do.
That's
This already looks so
fun.
playful, right?
Yes.
So we can make it all green.
Ooh.
Can make it just pink so that it's just the
But maybe the
overlay.
one magic would be white.
You want to make it one white, so like
Or I really like the all blue. No, I was saying if you
like-
did like the all pink with
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, that one means like...
I think. Another thing I can do here is, play a little bit with the layers. I'm gonna send it to back, and I'm gonna put it a little bit like behind. But I would only, tell people to do that if it doesn't disturb the word. Like, can you still read it? Do you still understand what's being said here? Then sure, it's something to try.
I think it's fun.
I think it works, right?
Super.
And these
Our
could
stars.
be all white. No. Maybe we can use like a lighter shade or something.
Yes. I love that. But maybe it needs the stroke still?
Yeah, it does.
Also, tell me no. I'm just thinking out loud.
It does. I want to be consistent. I think
Right,
a secret
yeah.
for having, a group of pieces that are consistent, that are nice together is whatever you decide for one goes for all of them. Yeah.
It's gotta be uniform. That's great advice.
So let's make the confetti the right shade of white, because it was just
So
black and
cute.
white. I kind of think this needs to pop a little bit more. What do you think?
Yeah, I fully agree. Take us there. Show the vision.
I don't know if the black. What if it's just a stroke?
Axel says, nice color combination. I love it.
Thank you.
Ooh, that's super fun.
You like it?
It kind of reminds me of the circles that we're seeing on this one,
Yeah, that's true.
You don't like
So,
it. You don't sound happy with it.
I do. It's just I'm thinking.
Fair enough.
What if it's
I have the easy job. I'm just sitting here.
some of
so.
them. Well, I think your job is hard. Okay, I like this way.
I like that. That's
yeah,
really fun.
so let's see what it looks like.
Present.
Cool. So this is our first poster, and this is our second poster, and this is our third poster. You can see they all have a different vibe, but they're very much within the same family, the same universe, and they're all consistent with the colors that our client told us to use.
This is amazing.
You like it?
I love it, chat. I'm sure you love it too. So give us your feedback in the chat. We want to hear it. We have about 3 minutes left. So do you want to give us maybe an overview? Unless there's more work you want to do here, but is there an overview of like, here, this is the first client brief that we got, and then kind of just like walk us through what happened
Sure,
between the two
absolutely.
streams?
So in the first stream, we were talking a little bit about what comes with the design brief, how it is to work with a design brief, which is basically a written document that your client sends you. And that's whether you're working within an agency or you're working as a freelance creative for graphic design, I would say. And I brought here with my mock design brief some basic information that would need to be in the brief, but this document can be, as huge as they come. And then we input this information here in Illustrator, so we have easy access to it if we need to. Let's say it's very content heavy, it's good to have the content here. And then seeing, the size that's needed for the posters, we started working on the hierarchy of the elements. So just thinking about organization, white space, and focus, what is gonna be the biggest focus point.
And then we worked in black and white. Do you want to give more description for like,
Yeah.
or did you say that? Sorry.
And then our kind of like, we had like 4 versions of this. So here you can see our whole process. And after, you select where everything's going to be placed, that's when I would normally choose the fonts I'm going to be working with. And just doing that, you can see here with it's the same stuff, right? It already gives it so much more personality.
Type choice is so important.
Yeah, right. And we're pairing two fonts that kind of complement each other, but in different ways. They're very different, but they work really well because they're both round and friendly, which is something that we want our design to be, at least in this case. After that, we started playing with the elements and how we can make the type even more playful. So how can we, make the font part of the illustration aspect of this? This is where I'm interested in typography. This is where I think it's this is what I like. And we brought some background elements, but always keeping in mind that the main information should, be legible, should be visible. And since we're working with the mock brief of something that's going to be a social media asset, but also, a huge street billboard, it got to be something that can be seen, can be readable, in smaller versions and in bigger versions as well. And then finally, we added color, and we learned how to create new colors from a limited color palette that your client might send you. Here in Adobe Illustrator, you can flatten the transparency and to make it lighter. And then we learned that you can make it darker as well. We didn't know that.
We learned so much.
That was in real time. You would just, overlay things, overlay the elements, and then flatten that transparency. So here we have our product, and the last thing I would do is I would export it for screens, and I would clear selection if everything's selected, and just select the artboards that I want to send my clients. And because we worked organized systematically, yes, I already know the final or the last three, right?
That looks so good.
But let's assume I have artboards all over. It would be and they all look the same. It would be really hard to know which one
right is the right one.
Yeah. And then you would just choose a suffix, a prefix, choose a place to put your file, and then you would, and if you're presenting, let's say you have a lot of assets that you want to share with your client, something else that you can do is work them as a PDF file, and you can do it as a single file. So if you want to create a presentation of your work instead with the whole process, you can do this here, and everything's going to be in one document.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much. This has been so awesome to see your process and everything that brought us up to this point. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And chat, we're so excited that you were here with us. Make sure not to log off. We're actually going to go live on Twitch with Courtney and Ashley on adobe.ly/AL Twitch. Maybe the mods can drop a quick link for you in case you don't want to type that out yourself. But definitely stick around and go jump on Twitch because it is an amazing stream. But thank you so much for watching today, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.